Elkhart Community School Board meeting to session. Please rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Weaver, the Elkhart Promise.
Every student is known by name, challenged, and supported by highly effective staff, and in partnership with the community, will graduate career, college ready, and life ready.
Our invitation to speak protocol is after agenda items, there will be a opportunity for those to come up and comment on that specific agenda item. You will have 3 minutes, and please limit it to that agenda item. At the end of our board meeting, you will also have an opportunity to speak in the public forum section. Again, the is 3 minutes time length, and we would ask that if you come and speak on an agenda item, and you also want to speak at that time, it's not the same topic. Dora has the information to fill out for that section, so if you could fill it out and it's sometime during the meeting, please give those to her. She will give them to us, and we'll call you up at the time of the meeting. I'd like to now go to the consent items.
So move.
Second.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Do we have any board comments? Consent items?
Well, yeah, we have donations again, many of them. We have a trumpet from Jeanette Praybill from Quinlan and Fabish for a student. We have $500 from Jack and Angie Welter for the volleyball team. We have $1,000 from the Brian and Amanda Jameson Charitable Fund for the Pierre Moran Athletics Department. Let's see, we have $1,000 from Lippert Components for the cheerleading program. We have $500 for the volleyball team from Ron and Alice Maurer. And we have another $500 for the volleyball team for the Notre Dame Credit Union. Then we have $1,000 to the Teenage Parent Program from Paths to Quality. They can utilize that anywhere they need. We have a donation for $2,715 from Rod Williams, and that will be used for extracurricular items that we see necessary. Then we have $500 again for the volleyball team from Simplified Tools. We have $1,000 from Unity Physicians Hospital, and they have donated 5 ortho packs that will be used for our surgical services program. And that is it. So once again, here it is this summer, and we just keep getting more and more. Thank you, community.
Thank you, Kelly.
Yes.
Any comments from the public or the audience?
I have just a question
Yep.
on the conference leaves. I just wanted to, I know you sent us some information, Steve, on the conference leaves for, sorry. Can you hear me now? You gave us information on the conference leave requests, and I know we requested some further information from you, and I appreciate that greatly. One of the things I just had some concerns about, and you kind of laid that out at the end, but with these conferences, specifically the PLC conference, I know we've spent a whole lot of money training our teams in the PLC process. And I just think that there needs to be some kind of an assessment of where we are by building and stuff so that we know, are we on track? Are our buildings on track? I know buildings may be in different places, but I think it's important that the board get a report, an assessment of how things are going, information from the principals on how they feel things are going and what our target goals are going forward. So I would just say that to the administrators and things in the room that, I know that it's a process. It's a continuing process, which I appreciate. That this is, as you had mentioned in your email, has been 6 years. And based on where we are on the scale, I was a little surprised at where we were on the scale. I thought we would be further along. So I just think it's important as we go forward that we are constantly reviewing and updating, and so we know where everybody is at and what the target goals are for each year.
Any other discussion from the board? From the audience? Roll call, please.
Mike Burnett,
Aye.
Jeff Weiler,
Aye.
Stacy Davis,
She's not present right now. Doesn't seem to be on the call.
Troy Scott,
Aye.
Doug Weaver,
Aye.
Ann Vondervellen,
Aye.
Kelly Mullins.
Aye.
Great, thank you. We will
You know
now,
what, Troy, I did leave out one thing. I forgot, and I'm so sorry. And, you know, usually we try to take a moment of silence when we've had some serious losses in our school, but recently we just had a couple yet again, and we lost Todd Kelly, who was with our school for 10 years in various different roles. Most currently, I believe he was serving at Woodland. Was he permanent? And I apologize for not knowing exactly where he was right now, but there was Todd, and then also, for those of you that don't know and go back to the days of Elkhart Central, Travis Jackson, one of our custodians, such a great man, and you might recognize him if you've been at the football games. He always has a toothpick in his mouth, and his sunglasses are right here, most of the time backwards on his head, and he's like always going everywhere. And anyways, like, he knew the kids and what they needed, and if there was football going on, and there was so much always happening on the field. And just for me personally, I put that poor man through heck for 8 years with my ridiculous football fundraisers that I would do. And he could have cared less how much energy he put into it or how long he stayed after cleaning up what I did, which was a lot. But I just want to take a minute to just give our deepest sympathy as a board, as a school system, to both the families of Todd Kelly, also Travis Jackson. And I like to take just a moment for us to kind of just have silence and respect for their family, please. Thank you very much. And it just really brings to, you know, how valuable and important we are as an Elkhart Community School family. So thank you.
thank you, Kelly. I will now move to the superintendent search update. I'm going to read a prepared statement that was prepared by BWP and Associates, the national search firm, also with input from board members regarding where we are in the search. As you may be well aware, the primary responsibility of the school board is the hiring of the superintendent. The Board of Trustees has held many executive sessions over the past several months to fill the position of superintendent. The Elkhart School Board hired BWP and Associates, a national search firm, to identify the best candidates. Since Indiana is on the leading edge of school choice with the funding following the student, this element creates a competitive opportunity for the incoming leader. Elkhart School District is of good size and has some clear strengths, as well as opportunity for improvement. The candidates that have responded see the opportunity on how they can bring their experiences and capabilities to address the needs of our district. Therefore, we received a high level of interest in this opportunity. A leadership profile was developed based on input from over 1,000 survey respondents, interviews with board members, and multiple focus groups that were conducted by BWP. The information for this profile can be found on the Elkhart Community Schools website. The board recognizes the importance of selecting the best, highly qualified, and visionary leader to guide our school district in the pursuit of academic excellence, student success, and with the necessary skills needed to right-size our district. Because this is such a transformative hire, the board has yet to reach a consensus on such an important leadership position. In the short term, the board anticipates appointing a highly qualified interim superintendent to serve the students, the staff, and community of Elkhart Community Schools. We will continue to provide updates to the community based on our progress. The board values the input and engagement of the community throughout this process. The board remains committed to providing a high-quality education to all students in the Elkhart Community School District. We are confident that through collaborative efforts, we will identify the best candidate to lead our district into a successful future. So that is the update.
Mr. President, I will put a motion on the floor. I move that Mr. Frank Serge, the remaining available finalist as determined to be a qualified finalist by the National Recruiting Consultant Company of BWP, and also by prior qualification of the Elkhart Community School Board of Trustees, be extended an offer of employment to serve as Elkhart Community School Superintendent effective starting July 1st, 2023 for a term of not less than 3 years.
I second that.
I third.
Before we get to that, would you want to hear public comments?
Okay, well, do you want to discuss of the board?
I would like to. I think I'd like to hear from the public.
Okay, that's fine.
Before we get there, I do want to remind everybody that we do have bylaws for public participation in the board meetings. I've given you a few of the parameters as far as time and what it should be structured to. Specifically, there is a section of the bylaws that I think is important to read to you before we start this session. I think there's going to be many opinions regarding this search, and I think if we adhere to the bylaws, it will significantly lessen the risk of any litigation as far as slander, not knowing what negatively or positively is going to be said. So, bylaw 0167.3, public participation of board meetings. The school board recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on corporation matters, which we as a board all strongly agree with. I want to address Section 8 specifically and read that to you. While community members have the right to address the board regarding its employees, the board will not discuss those matters during regular board meetings since these discussions might include confidential information. Discussions regarding an employee's alleged misconduct, status as an employee, and job performance evaluation are just examples that will be reserved for an executive session held pursuant to the terms of this policy and applicable Indiana law. Community members are expected to put their concerns regarding employees, or in this particular discussion, candidates, in writing and direct the said concerns to the superintendent or designee for investigation. I would suggest if you were to do this, rather than the superintendent, if you could address your concerns, both positive and or negative, to Daisy Davis, president of the school board, and Douglas Thorne, chief of staff. I strongly encourage the public to share both positive and negative comments, but put them in writing as to protect the integrity of the personnel matters that could be in violation. So, given those parameters, I'll open it up to the public for comment.
Yeah, please step to the podium there when you can.
Good evening, Superintendent, school board members. My name is Robert Smith. I'm a retired administrator, 47 years, going on 48. I was the interim assistant principal at Pierre Moran under the guidance of Frank Serge. I have known Frank for 26 years. I consider Frank Serge a member of my family. During that time, Frank has had several conversations with me about his quest to guide his family, community, and self through improvements, achievement, and successes. He has maintained these pursuits through a broad spectrum of professional endeavors and personal interest. This spectrum ranges from his participation as a role model, characterized as a dedicated parent, husband, and mentor, actively involved within the Elkhart community, a skillful and focused educator and administrator. Frank possesses a background of life experiences. This background allows him to interpret situations and solve problems that can be recognized and resolved through real life situations and experiences. Through our many, many conversations over the years, and from my observations, Frank possesses an open ear, leading to personal reflection that provides understanding, insight, and feedback from friends and colleagues alike. This process of reflection and evaluation is a lifelong process of Frank's that results in unending self-evaluation. His attitudes toward children and peers are founded in his personal belief, communicated to me in numerous conversations, that all individuals are valued as unique through a diverse spectrum of contributions and relationships. I did not want to go back to work after 47 years. You all who are retired know what I'm talking about. But Frank Serge has a way of convincing you. He did not, even though I consider him a member of my family. I went over to Pierre Moran. Before I went, 2 teachers from Elkhart told me Pierre Moran was not the place to go. So I was skeptical. I sat in the parking lot. I watched the children line up that morning. Nobody was hitting each other. Hands were to themselves. The 2 security people, I noticed they had interpersonal relationships with the children, but that wasn't good enough to come out of retirement. I said, Frank, let me take a look at your halls, because I've only done high school over 47 years. The halls were empty. Students were in class. That wasn't good enough. I said, let me check out the cafeteria. Students came in orderly, sat down orderly, were released by table to table orderly.
Mr. Smith, I hate to interrupt your
I'm
honor
sorry,
roll.
I'll conclude.
Yeah, if you could conclude that.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
But that wasn't good enough, but was the best that I saw. And I'm new to Elkhart. That staff knew every teacher. Frank Serge knew every student by name. Those teachers, highly effective, challenged students for academics. I was greeted and welcomed because the staff and students represent the leadership of that school. And I thanked those children when I left. At the end, I always said to them, I love you all. And I'll tell Frank Serge today, I love you all. Thank you very much.
The next person to speak, we're having some technical difficulties. Madam President is trying to sign. Daisy, are you there?
I am here.
Great. Then disregard my last comment.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Dunlop. I'm a resident in the Elkhart Community School District. I have always been very interested in education in my community, and I have been interested in the response. I was excited to learn the board was considering Frank Serge for the position of superintendent for many reasons. One of the main being that he is from our community and has invested deeply in the lives of our children for decades. And I have yet to hear anything but praise for this individual. I have contacted many people to inquire about Frank and have been so impressed that every response has been exceptionally positive. I have also talked to Frank, and he has shared with me his love for his students and his understanding of the importance of discipline and structure in their lives, as it is at the very core of every worthwhile and successful endeavor. Frank believes students need to respect authority and respect each other, and he has high expectations of them and he believes they should have high expectations for themselves. Frank also expressed his concern for teachers and their need to be supported by the administration. Frank considered this job because he thought he could do something good for Elkhart, and the agency hired to evaluate candidates agreed by recommending him for consideration. While Frank served as principal at Central was recognized as one of the top advanced placement schools in the state, and within that group had the greatest diversity. Frank has also been credited for his leadership in bringing about significant improvement, as we just heard about, in the learning environment at Pierre Moran. The advantages of hiring an individual respected and highly regarded for what they have contributed to our community over an outsider seems only wise and reasonable. So I encourage you to consider Frank Serge as for superintendent for the Elkhart Community Schools. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, board. I'm here, my name's Bob Barnes, live in Elkhart. My son's a product of Elkhart Central, 2008 class. I'm in favor of the board picking Frank Serge for this position. My son got a very well-rounded education in Elkhart Central. I believe Frank Serge is a good man. I believe he walks his talk. And I believe that guy would be a good superintendent for a climate such as Elkhart Community Schools. That being said, having to compete with school of choice, the vouchers and everything else that you guys have to deal with on top of trying to manage a school, I believe Frank would be a guy to steer the ship right. The people that all the kids that my son graduated with are very successful, and I truly believe they're successful because of the well-rounded education they got at Elkhart Central. He prepared them boys and them young ladies, to take on what this world has to dish out, and they're very successful at what they do. So I would encourage the board to throw Frank's name into the hat to be our next superintendent.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Brandy, and I'm coming to you both as the nurse at Pierre Moran and as a parent of my last one. My baby just left Pierre Moran last month. So all I can say is I didn't know Frank up until he came to save us from our lack of staffing, more or less. But I can tell you, you walk in our building, and I have some coworkers who would agree, it is a 180 difference between last year and this year. I just finished my third school year with the district. And when I came in, I was stunned at what went on in the middle school. Absolutely stunned. And what Mr. Smith said about you come in, we still have our little issues and whatever, but like, we are not having melees in the cafeteria anymore. We are not having all-out brawls anymore. Like, there is structure, there's discipline, there are known expectations of behavior, and you can see his mind ticking of, okay, we've addressed this issue. What do we need to fix next? What do we need to get to next? And he has said for the last several months, in the fall, we're getting back to education. That's what we're doing. We fixed this little stuff. We're getting back to the focus of education. Last year was not conducive to learning for anyone. I almost pulled my own kids out. But I, as an employee, feel safer that even verbal abuse against staff is not going to be tolerated, that we are protected. I feel like the kids are safer and we can get back to learning. That's what we're here to do, okay? And I think he can get it done. He has a vision. I don't know, I assure you it's many steps ahead of what I even know is going on. But he has a vision, and it's to get these kids back to where they should be. back to grade level, back to the expectations of schooling. The only reason I'm hesitant to put his name in this because then he'll leave Maria. But to be selfless, I will say the whole district can have him, and we will still get to enjoy his wisdom, his knowledge, his expertise, and his energy. He's got plans. We're gonna go places, I think, if you put him in place.
Good evening. I'm Wayne Bias, and I'm going to tell you a story today about, and it's not going to be politically correct, about a young, dumb South Bend kid who found out in second grade in front of his classmates that he was going to be held back. His father gets a job in this town he's never heard of called Elkhart. So he moves here. He goes to a school where there's hardly anybody that looks like him. And he goes out for recess and he's called nigger. Then he goes on to Brookdale Junior High. And then he finds a teacher that looks like him that he can kind of identify with. And then the school board decided that we're going to desegregate the schools. He got sent to Northside. There's no one there that looks like me. Then I go into this one science class, and this person hates school. He runs across this big burly guy, and he invites him in to his office. He feeds him on a daily basis in this office. And then once we start getting to know each other a little better, there was this kid who stunk in class. He stunk so bad, no one wanted to share the science experiments with this kid. Find out a little bit later, Frank, with his own money, bought deodorant, set up washing his clothes program, let him come in, bought shampoo for him so he could take a shower before school started. Now this kid starts thinking, man, maybe I'm not as dumb as I think I am. His father's really smart. All of his brothers are in the National Honor Society. And he seems to value me as a person. So then I break my finger playing dodgeball. And he says to me, hey, you're on the football team. You come to my room and I'll tape it up each and every day before you go to practice. I'm like, wow, me? So then I meet this guy on the football field. Now he's Coach Serge. And yeah, he's going to demand a lot of you. He's going to push you. He's going to demand things of you that you don't even know you can give. But he sees things in me. He sees things in people that they don't see in themselves. Then he hires me to do work around his house. He didn't have to. I know my bylaws and all that stuff. He didn't have to. Me, the stupid kid from South Bend, most of the time, I was around his kids, helping them, taking them to McDonald's and stuff. He's paying me. Then I lose my track coach my 11th grade year. I went to state my 10th grade year in shot put. I have no one that's going to lead me. He stepped up. He led me. Now, back then, we didn't have a big track team like we do now.
Sir,
We had a small track team.
Please.
I'm going to finish. So then he stepped up and became my track coach. He lifted with me. He pushed me past those boundaries. Then after that, I get to meet him as Mr. Serge or as a colleague after I became an adult. I took on my adult job. To this day, he invested in me, that scared little dumb kid from South Bend, and pushed me places I didn't know I could go, to now I'm successful. And now I'm giving back to those kids. I have a state champion disc thrower, and I'm working on others, because he gave me the knowledge and the power that I can make a difference. And I do value, I have value. And I got a phone call this fall. Hey, Wayne, I need you. Get over here. Hey, I'll be there in a second. Dropped everything, headed around to the school. And he's like, the team's back together. I need you. I need your help, because we got to get these kids in the right place. So I was there. I'll be there in a second. I'm there. If Frank calls me tomorrow, Frank calls me 10 years from now, I will be there. Because Frank is a caring guy. I'm not going to talk about stuff I don't know. These are real life issues that dealt with me, that made me a better person, and he does it for other people too. Thank you.
So just to balance out Wayne, I'll go real quick. A lot of that stuff, ditto. And we can talk.
Your name,
Oh,
please?
I'm sorry. I feel like I know almost everybody here. My name's Clarence Thomas, just like the judge. So giving the courtesy keeps on giving. Yeah, just like Wayne said, I'll go halftime, so we'll make it even, okay? I could talk for hours about Coach. All the coaches at Elkhart Central, what they did to us. And if you look in this room, a lot of us are connected. This community is connected. And it drives me crazy when I see us arguing over stuff like this. It is such a horrible look to me. Because everybody in this community is so valuable. I mean, I'm friends with Republicans, Democrats, black, white, purple, and I see value in all of us. But we sit here in these meetings, that's why I hate coming to these meetings, because it makes you upset. We argue about things that aren't going to make us better. I feel bad for Superintendent Ball. I feel like he didn't get a fair shake. I feel like he would probably stay for a little bit longer if we weren't so hard on each other. We should be embarrassed, honestly, as a community, because I guarantee you when that superintendent, whoever we look for, when they look on Facebook and they see the things that we say about each other, would you want to come here? And we are some of the most talented people in this planet. We have industry and businesses that started here, that are only here. We can do anything we put our mind to. Why can't we put our mind to working together for a change? And I'll say this about Frank Serge, because that's why I'm here. I don't care if he gets that job or not. I really don't want to get that job because it'll probably drive him crazy. And I like this guy. But I won't let anybody take away all the things he's done for me. To say, I mean, of course, I'm 40 years of a career. I'm sure he did things wrong. I mean, I almost quit football because of him. That's another story. But we as a community have to be better than we're doing right now. We got to figure out a way to work together and support whoever we choose so we can be better, or everybody's going to leave. Coach, I love you. As a matter of fact, I love everybody in this room. Can we just do better? Thank you.
I guess the protocol. I'm Krista Hennings. I would say I don't know that I'm in support of a person or not. I would say that as a person that's born and raised in Elkhart and went to Elkhart schools, I would say that I'm disappointed in the board because there's no way that bits and pieces that should have stayed within you have come out to the public, for teachers to pick a side, for administrators to feel like they have to pick a side, for Dr. Talheimer to have to continue to come to our principals meetings and put on a strong face and continue to be the leader that you've said he's not. But then we don't know who's gonna be. I think teachers come to work every day and try to do a great job and have heard teachers just need to do their job. Administrators feel like they're gonna lose their job or things aren't going well. For the new people, I feel bad for you because you really didn't know this is what you signed up for. I would say that for people that come to work every day to get that check that has that logo, there are lots of things that need to be done better. Whether you're for or whether you're not for, I think you probably need to show up to some principal meetings and some teacher meetings to ask those specific people some specific questions so that you get a greater understanding of where we were with Hayworth, where we've been with Tallheimer, where the people that have been on the board are going. But right now, we're so broken that people who may have had a bad taste in their mouth, like if you go to McDonald's one day and your fries aren't hot, you're gonna go around the corner to Dairy Queen. We're all over the place in that, right? Like if you have money to pay for better, then you're gonna go get better. If you don't, we've wasted money, we've thrown money out, we've thrown people under the bus, and we still are no different than we were when we started in August. We're no different than we were when Tallheimer took over. We're broken. And that brokenness falls on the board members who have been here. And I don't know how you sleep every day because at about 3:13 every day, I'm losing sleep as we celebrate at Notre Dame and graduate lots of kids. And I keep saying, come to School Without Walls and Visitors because we're doing lots of great work. Only 2 people showed up though, but I was here to tell you to come. We continue to not set the Elkhart promises to know students by name, but we don't know those who are doing well. We don't know those who are not doing well. And you continue to make us look bad. Lots of people aren't here today who probably should be to keep giving you right. Like it's not for me about Frank Serge. It's about you continue to make us look bad. And if we're a family, when people are attacking my people, I'm very vocal. So people who know me know that. Right now, I don't even know how I can continue to be proud of people that I work for and have been here 23 years with. But you continue to make us look bad all the time. And so if any of you want to talk, like I'm not worried about my job because I know that I come to work and work hard and do a great job and can show you data that says that I do. I got 13. I'm a coach. I keep it where it is. So I feel like some of you probably need to call some of us and I'll leave my number with Dora or whomever or my email because it's khennings@elkhart.k12.in.us.
Good evening, board.
Good evening.
My name's Max Yakey. I'm a working member of this community, and I have been a solid supporter of Elkhart Community Schools in various capacities, having also graduated from Elkhart Central High School myself. I currently have a son entering his senior year. I approached this board 3 months ago. At that time, I expressed to this board to stop wasting time and money on feasibility studies and search committees. I also expressed my deep concern for the future of Elkhart Community Schools and the need for an interim superintendent to establish desperately needed leadership and stabilization. Obviously, my concerns and the concerns of many others have fallen short. This board then made the decision to embark on a search committee. The superintendent firm for superintendent, and here we are 3 months later with no superintendent. This is absurd and unacceptable to this community and the taxpayers. I will add that it has been made known that this board had narrowed the search down to 3 qualified applicants. It is also known that 2 of the applicants withdrew and that 1 applicant, Frank Serge, was remaining and the job of superintendent was not given to him. Why is this? Why is this? We deserve to know. Everybody here deserves to know. Why would this board waste a qualified applicant's time through the complete process? He is then the only applicant left, and then they deny him the job? How pitiful. Will this community ever learn of the truth from this board?
Is this board trying to ruin the school system within? Is that what's going on here? I don't know. I'm dumbfounded. It's amazing to me. It certainly appears that way to me and many others. Unfortunately, this school system is running its course to be the same as South Bend Community School System. This board should be ashamed of themselves if you have any shame.
My name is Jason Grasty, parent of 2 students here at Elkhart Community Schools. One is going to be a junior and one will be an 8th grader. I had the opportunity to work for Frank Serge for a number of years. And so I want to give you a different perspective than some of the things that we have heard tonight. I am currently serving as head principal at another school. I spent a good amount of time as a social studies educator at Elkhart Central. Never getting a moment's rest because of the amount of pushing and encouraging and opportunities that Frank was able to provide for me as an educator, as a teacher in a building, and he was my head principal. I got involved in the school improvement plan. I got involved in all different types of things. Some things I liked to do, some things I didn't like to do, but I was always pushed to be better. And then I made the jump into becoming an academic dean and then eventually an assistant principal. And I need you to understand, and maybe this hasn't been communicated, the amount of time that Frank invests in the people that work with him and for him. He walks alongside you. There were days that I absolutely did not want to go to work because of how hard I knew I was going to have to work, because Frank would push me and push me and push me. And there were times I thought, I don't know if I can keep doing exactly these things, because he saw things in me that you've heard others say. He saw things in me that other people didn't see, and he pushed me to be better. And I will tell you this right now. I'm a head principal, and I am a better principal and a better administrator because of the mentoring that I received from Frank Serge. And I hope that you can understand the value that that man brings to this community in regards to teaching educators. Thank you.
My name is Matt Werbianski, and I am a proud product of Elkhart Community Schools, Elkhart Central class of 1982. I am a current administrator at Elkhart High School. I've had the privilege of working for this district for 28 years, 25 of those as an administrator. And I can tell you that I would not be standing here in the position that I am, having the opportunities that I've had if it weren't for Frank Serge. When I started my administrative career at Elkhart Central, he was a tremendous mentor to me. And not only was he a tremendous mentor to me, but he was a tremendous friend. And with Frank, those things go hand in hand. Those things go hand in hand. Now, there's the piece of paper that was on the chair here when we got here. It said Elkhart Community Schools Leadership Profile. Things that were distributed that the company that you hired and that the board is utilizing as characteristics and qualities for a leader for this district. Every one of those qualities, you can put Frank Serge's name after those qualities. He's deserving of this position. And a lot of people are saying that we're at a crossroads right now. This district is at a pivotal a point in its history. This board right now is at a pivotal spot in this meeting, because there's been a motion and a second, and we're discussing, and the decision you make after that needs to be the right decision. And that needs to be to appoint Frank Serge as superintendent of this district. Thank you.
I'm John Levan. I'm principal at Woodland Elementary School. I hadn't prepared a speech tonight because I wasn't intending on speaking, but I want you to know that I've had the privilege of working alongside Frank. I've been in administration for about 14 years now, and I've been on multiple committees with Frank. And I can tell you this, that though I haven't always agreed with everything with Frank, Frank will talk to you about your viewpoint and his viewpoint, and ultimately the viewpoint he cares most about is kids. Frank is a leader of leaders. Frank is someone who, when he was going to put his name into the mix, there were several of us that did encourage him to do that and asked him, Frank, we need you to step up in this time, because we have seen how you took Central from an F to a B school. We've seen the graduation rates increase. Like someone else said, none of us are perfect as leaders, but I can tell you this. Last week, as we were headed into this weekend, I was like, man, what's going to happen for us with the superintendent? Because I will tell you that brings a lot of uncertainty for me as a school leader. It has also caused some challenges with staffing. People are concerned about coming to Elkhart because they don't know what's going to happen next. But I can tell you this, there's a man in the mix that cares so greatly for our kids, has encouraged people, has led people. And when I was in those committees, here I sat with a high school principal who said, John, we are not going to get where we need to be until we get the elementaries fixed and get you guys getting these kids reading and doing math at levels they need to. And I can tell you, I've had conversations with Frank since that time. And you know what? Everything that's on the back of this shirt, and I did wear this shirt intentionally today because I wear it out in public with pride. I'm proud to be a part of Elkhart, and I would be so proud to be a part of Elkhart with Frank as my leader.
I'm Matt Yakey. I'm a product of Elkhart Central High School class of 1983. I am the not nearly as handsome brother of Matt. He's also much more highly successful than I am. I didn't intend to speak either, but based on the comments, first of all, I appreciate the motion and the second, because what I'm hearing and what I've seen in the community is we're not broken, but we're breaking. Ms. Hennings and Clarence really summarized that very well. Our community sees the infighting among our school corporation. We're hemorrhaging students, and we shouldn't be hemorrhaging students. We should be a destination for education. I can tell you point blank that Mr. Serge was one of the primary people that really engaged the dual credit advanced placement classes. For a while, we actually had an imbalance. We had more classes at Elkhart Central than we did at Elkhart Memorial. I can tell you I've had 3 students, 2013, 2015, and 2019, graduate from Elkhart Central High School. I go to parent-teacher conferences, mainly to get my ego, because my kids are all doing very well. But usually what I did, first was valedictorian, by the way. What I did was really ask faculty. And it's kind of like Mr. Grasky would say, is that Mr. Serge is a strong leader, and he pushes people to get things done, because it's all about our kids. And we've kind of lost the focus about that. It's about children. Every children he embraces, every child he embraces, because he wants to be an effective leader. And the faculty would tell me, you know what, Frank could be somewhat of an SOB sometimes, but he always had our backs. And you're looking for somebody like Mr. Orbianski pointed out, that has those qualities that we're supposedly looking for. He fits all of them. He's someone that's a collaborator, he's a leader, and he's a visionary. Now, I'm biased. I've known the guy for 45 years. He's one of the primary people that molded me versus a science teacher, a coach, a mentor, and a leader as an adult, a friend. Wayne Bias. Wayne can give you stories. I can give you stories. Hundreds upon hundreds of kids in our community can give you stories about Frank Serge. But is he a visionary? Yes. Can he lead our school corporation? Yes. Are we breaking? Yes. Do we need to get fixed? Yes. Who can fix us? Someone that knows us. Someone that knows us. Someone that's respected in this community by faculty, staff, students, community leaders. And who's our biggest stakeholder? Please talk about these darn stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders? It's our kids.
our kids. Thank you. I appreciate the motion and second. Please approve Frank Serge as our next school program. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Heather Bowers, and I am I'm a mom to two boys who are going into ninth grade, and I also work at Pierre Moran. I apologize. This is my first board meeting, so I came a little unprepared. But I've worked with Frank for roughly about 9 months. I came in as a guidance secretary, and he's kind of taken me over his wing. And I have grown as not just an employee, but a parent of Elkhart Community Schools, because I've learned the different things that our districts offer our kids that I did not know before he educated us. And he has improved us as not just a school, but as a unit. Our teachers, he is the only person I've ever worked for that has an open door policy and actually stands by it. His door is always open. If you need him, you come in. If he's busy, he will stop what he's doing to make sure everything is okay. Our staff come to him for not just guidance and rules and stuff, but his wisdom. He is just an all-around great guy, and I think that he would do great things for Elkhart Community Schools. Thank you.
Good afternoon, or good evening. Mary Jo Sartorius from Bristol. I wasn't really sure whether I would stand up here and talk to you. I worked for this district for 37 years. This is the first time I've ever come before the board when I wasn't invited to give information about a program. When I was hired, I'm a little bit different take, 1978. When I was hired, Dr. Miller was the superintendent, and he met with me individually and said, we only hire the best, and we picked you. I don't know if that was true. They were desperate for a swimming coach. I do know that, so maybe not, but I believed it then. And he said, we are the Cadillac of education in Indiana. You know what? I walked out that day feeling really proud that I'd signed this contract, that I didn't want to be in Elkhart, but I felt lucky to be part of Elkhart Schools. And for 35 of my 37 years, I felt every day like I was the luckiest person in the world to have this job in this district. And yes, from 1978 to when I left in 2016, we declined. And we used a lot of excuses or explanations that our demographics changed, that our community changed. We started bleeding kids. It was charter schools. It was vouchers. I don't know what the real thing is, but we're in trouble. And we're not going to have a vibrant community unless we do something about it. Frank. So I've worked with Frank for over 20 years in a couple different situations. When he was assistant principal at Northside, and then again when he was principal at Central, as my job as special ed director, I ended up showing up every time a child with special needs or thought to be a child with special needs was up for expulsion or they were having trouble with them. So I saw Frank from 20 years ago, problem solving with kids that were really some of the toughest kids that you can imagine, and always being innovative and always wanting to keep those kids in school. He has an ability to form leadership teams. I was always impressed with his teams when I would go to Central because they were always on the same page. Jason and Matt, they were part of that, and everyone problem solving around a child, around looking at data about kids. Mostly I worked with him on discipline, but he's data driven, he's focused. And the last thing, I've read some posts on Facebook, which I think is what prompted me to come to this meeting, that maybe he didn't have that background. Well, I would challenge you to see how many superintendents in this country and in this state came from being high school principals. Why? Because when you're a high school principal, you are exposed to everything in the district: transportation, food services, HR, curriculum. If you come from the central office, you tend to be more narrowly focused and you don't have all of that experience. So is Frank qualified? I'd say yes. And I have one more thing. Thinking outside the box, because we're innovative here in Elkhart, aren't we? We think we are. We say we are. Everywhere else we are. Why not appoint Frank as the superintendent and find a rock star retired superintendent to mentor him and coach him? Because we all know in industry as well as in education, coaching is really important for any new person in a new role, no matter how qualified they are. I'm going to put out the name Eugene White. I want you to Google that name. I want you to look at his background, but twice Superintendent of the Year of Indiana, high school principal, Indiana North Central. We visited it, Frank and his team, when Eugene was there, principal of MSD Washington and Indianapolis Public Schools, and now he's back as an interim at North Central. Maybe he would be willing to help us. I don't know, but I know his reputation, his ability to turn schools around, and let's be innovative and do something hybrid. Thanks.
Angela Whitlow. I have one child now left here in Elkhart schools, and unlike a lot of people out here, I do not have the honor of personally knowing Frank Serge. What I do have is a social butterfly. Not a lot of people know this, but I am a Concord product, okay? Back when I was in school, Central was the worst school in the world, okay? When we moved to Concord, or to Elkhart, I did not want to send my kids here to begin with. I wanted to obviously go to Concord. I almost took my kids to Central when they went to high school because of the fact of the community reaching out to me and saying, Central is the school to be at. It's quietly done, but they are improving their grades. They are improving their discipline. And the person that did that was Frank Serge. If you as a board wanted Frank to come into Pure Moran to fix it, but he's not good enough to fix and help, not fix, but help this school district, I don't know who would be. You have somebody who's involved in this community, who's been here, who hasn't left, that keeps coming back after retirement to help. Why wouldn't you use him? Why wouldn't you utilize him? Staff is very apparent that staff really like him, really love him. He's helped students, and community has nothing but positive to say. I've never heard one thing, even out of some of your guys' mouth, I've never heard one negative thing about Frank Serge. Unfortunately, again, I don't have a lot of hearsay because I don't know personally Frank Serge, but I know about him from our community, from our staff members, from our kids. So I would really hope that you would make a decision and support Frank in our community. And the fact that he also made it with the group that you guys hired, and then you guys just shift him aside. I work a lot with common sense. That doesn't make sense to me, why you would do that at all. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Mrs. Adams, and I'm here to speak to the board decision that they want to make. They hired in the BWP associate to help them decide how to pick out a superintendent. And they gave their recommendation, they did the survey, they came to the school, talked to all of us, asked us what are we looking for in a superintendent, what we expect out of a superintendent. Justin came up about, what about the superintendent we have now? He's good. And I told one of the board members, Mr. Weaver, there's no one that's perfect. There's no one perfect on their job. But he had to have somebody in his cabinet. He knows his job. He have to do what he's supposed to do to run the district. So as that BWP said, they wanted sitting superintendent They wanted someone with experience. They want someone that's able to learn this community. They even voiced that they really wanted someone close in this district, live in this area. But the 22 people they selected, they nailed it down to 6. After they nailed down to 6, they add another person on. I feel that the board members are not being transparent. If you're gonna be transparent in spending the community tax dollars, because you, board members, a lot of you are elected. Some of you was placed in the office, but most of you supposed to be elected in the shoe that you're in now. I feel like we need to be honest, and y'all stating that higher education don't mean anything. I guess I could run for superintendent. I don't have no experience. I don't have a superintendent license. I don't have experience working in the district, but I've been here for 48 years. And most of the superintendent they selected are with the experience and have been a superintendent. So I feel that fair is fair. If you had 6 people, why none of them didn't qualify? Why they didn't make it to that seating? Because they have the experience. They are sitting superintendent. They said sitting superintendent. That means they are superintendents. So they know how to run the district. At least Steve Tynheimer is a doctor, and he have experience being a superintendent. That's what y'all gotta remember. We have somebody do know how to run in the office. We need someone more experienced because we got a lot of opening in the office. And I feel like we need to stand and we need to be right. And for us to spend out the money, why would you spend that money out to that firm and y'all did not pay attention to them? I want to know what's the difference. What make him override all those other qualified people that apply? There was 22 of them. They dropped it down to 6. Then they went down to 3. I want to know what's the difference. What's so special? So y'all stating that anybody can be a superintendent. So I guess you're saying our students, it's not worth going to school, get their higher education, that you don't have to have that. You just have to know somebody, place you on the board, and that's always good. Not good. Not good in my book. I'm sorry. I don't think that's fair. People that go to school, get their education, get a high honor, they should have a chance. So a person that don't have the higher education, no superintendent license, no experience, how they rank over the ones with the experience? Board members, I'd like to know how y'all ranking with that. How can y'all sleep at night with that? Elkhart. Elkhart with the heart. Y'all say with the heart, but it's with no heart. This is the worst school board that I've seen to even go this way. That's not even being considered. I'm sorry. It's the truth. I don't get it. Help me. I raised my family here. And we pushed them to get their higher education. I have a daughter, got 6 children in this school district. 6. And look like we're going to go down in flames. We're going down flame, flame, flame. I'm telling you, when it happened, y'all going to look back and say, it didn't work out the way we wanted it to be.
Any other comments?
My name is Rosemary Call. I don't like talking in public. I hate talking in public. But things have been said here, and I've got to say, I've worked with Frank Serge for 29 years. I think if there's anybody in this same building that knows him better, I don't know who they are. Because I worked hand in glove with him. I stood beside him through a lot of things. When I first came to Elkhart Central, they didn't have a good reputation. My kids were memorial kids, and I flaunted that at him. I was here, but we're better. And he proved me wrong. He brought that school along. It became wonderful. The AP classes that we had were outstanding. I told everybody I couldn't do this because I would get emotional. We would have problems with some of the girls, especially girls. I don't know why girls in our building like to fight, but it'd be girls. It wasn't boys. And what he would do is he would bring in the parents and the girls, and they would sit after school, and they would bring them in, and they would work on all of this to clean up everything that was happening in their neighborhood so that they could come into the school and feel safe. I always felt safe in that building. Just my opinion, but I believe he could move this school system forward. He could do a good job for you because that's what he wants to do. He doesn't have to do this. And to be honest with you, he yanked my butt out of retirement to go back and help him at Pierre Moran, to help him train the new secretary. So I owe him a lot, and I love him and his family. And he would be wonderful for you.
Tonda Hines, I too did not come here to speak, but it's on my heart and it's in my gut. I have sat as an elected official, not appointed, where you guys are sitting. I don't know if there's anybody else here tonight that truly understand what you guys are going through, the decisions that you've made, how we got to tonight. I've called 3 of you personally because I feel like we have a personal relationship that I could do that. There's it's the process. This is not about, for me speaking, it's not for or against you, Mr. Serge. I respect you. I respect what you've done in education. We've worked together. I'm just blessed that I feel like I can navigate and work with anybody. So however this shakes out, it's gonna shake out. I too believe I do the best job I can do in my role for the students and families of this district. I believe the city and the school district, once we get past this, we need to work together because this is going to affect our city. And just know the process. I think it's really interesting how tonight, there's clearly some people didn't get the memo in regards to what this discussion on this motion was going to be. And if the motion is carried and it's not tabled, then we move on. And in the word community, because I went to 2 of those community meetings with the search company. So we talked about community input, wanting what you wanted, what we wanted. And if you look at the word community, at the end of it, it's unity, right? UNITY. And so this process was to bring us all together. I think a couple people touched on that again, a little bit. So how is this decision this evening going to bring us together? Because at the end of the day, it really isn't about us. It's about the kids. How many kids do you serve? How many do we have in the district? Maybe I should know that.
11,300.
Right. It's about them because some people do have choices, other people don't have choices. So how is this decision going to? This is just a snippet of the representation of our district, right? So how is this decision going to impact all? If we want to know every kid by name and all of the things, all of the great things we say and we put on paper and it's in theory, how is this going to bring us together? Because if you're not going to please everybody, right? You're gonna have some for who, if it was a stranger, if it's someone we know, we're comfortable with, you're not gonna please everybody. So how do we move forward? So hopefully, in your discussion, that will be the next question. How do we move forward? And Dr. Talheimer, thank you. Thank you for your tenacity. Thank you for sticking it out. Because I don't even know that we're even thinking of that. We're human, right? So emotions go there. The board decided we needed to go in another direction with another leader. They decided we were going to go through this process. Clearly, there's other things that have been decided that now we're here tonight. So now what? Now what? Where do we go next? Thank you.
Rocky Enfield, father of an incoming senior at Elkhart High, business owner and concerned citizen. I'm not here to talk about the pros or cons of any candidate, because this is not the forum to do it. That is supposed to be done in executive session. I am here to talk about board governance. This board's governance. I am not sure that mere words can describe how disappointed I am in this board. Your actions concerning the superintendent search over the last several months have been disappointing at best, disgraceful at worst. To have had over 20 highly qualified candidates and not be able to come up with consensus based on the qualifications and experience these candidates have is mind-boggling. It is clear to the general public that members of this board are putting their personal feelings and political beliefs above the greater good of our students, our staff, and our community. You have wasted tens of thousands of dollars, precious time, and the goodwill of this community. When I left this board in December, I implored the board to set aside their personal feelings and act in the best interest of our community. I think it is safe to say that has not happened. I've referred to a few points of the Indiana School Boards Association Code of Ethics to see if you were following the code. A school board member should honor the high responsibility that membership demands by thinking always in terms of children first, by refusing to play politics either in the traditional or in any petty sense. A school board member should demonstrate respectful relationships with other members of the board by respecting the opinion of others and by graciously conforming to the principle of majority rules. A school board member should maintain desirable relations with the superintendent of schools and other employees by striving to procure the best professional leader available for the head administrative position. A school board member should maintain a commitment to the community by earning the community's confidence that all is being done in the best interest of school children. In my opinion, members of this board are clearly failing to live up to this code of ethics. The actions of this board may very well have ruined our chance at getting the very best candidate and set back the school system and community for years to come. It is well past the time for this board to start acting in the best interest of our kids, our staff, our community, and stop playing petty politics with our future.
Are there any other comments from the audience? Okay, I will open it up to board discussion.
Mr. Enfield went through with the code of ethics, and I would agree with you. Okay, the code of ethics, page B1 of our manual right here, which I have, states a school board member should maintain desirable relations with the superintendent of schools by striving to procure the best professional leader available for the head administrative position. The key word in that sentence is procure and best professional leader available. The word available is in there for a reason, okay? The people who put this together just weren't pulling words out of the air to stick something together. They did it for a reason. Available is key, all right? And also by conducting all school business transactions openly, okay? We had a great opportunity to bring this back to the public. They put a pause, give us an extra week. We can bring the candidates out, let the public talk to them. I would have loved that. I proposed that. But no, we can't do that. No, next time we'll think about that. I went in and I come up with a minimum of 6 different school corporations, and I just stopped there because that was the top of the list. Okay, who bring in their candidates. Kalamazoo did it. Edwardsburg did it. Ocala, Florida did it. Okay, you name it, they're all over the place. They bring their finalist candidates in for a meet and greet with the public. Okay, transparency in a democracy has a lot of value to it. Okay, and I was not going to sit by and let something be swept under the rug, which was clearly wrong. Okay, I will go on. Okay, definition of a consensus. In simple terms, this is kind of a Wikipedia thing. Consensus refers to agreement on some decisions by all members of the group, rather than the majority. What does a consensus look like mathematically? Well, if it's 7 and 0, it's 100%, right? Okay, if it's 6 and 1, it's 86%. If it's 5 and 2, it's 71%. And if it's 4 and 3, where we are now, 57%. Okay, 57% is where your board's at today. There's only one known and available candidate that will take the risk of a 57% board approval. Only one in the world. The minority of this board, which I am a minority of this board, has a qualified and available candidate. The majority of this board does not have a qualified nor available candidate. Another issue that I want to go into, superintendent's license. Neither remaining finalist has in their possession an Indiana superintendent's license. Possession of neither an Indiana superintendent license nor a PhD was a requirement to apply for the position of Elkhart Community Schools. Let me repeat, applicants were not required to have an Indiana superintendent's license or a PhD. Wednesday, May 31st, 2023, Steve Griebach of the recruiting firm that we used stated in an email to Elkhart Community School board members, as you finalize preparations for tomorrow's meeting, the big day, you should know that both candidates will meet Indiana Department of Education requirements for a superintendent's license in the statement. Okay, on your chairs out there, every one of you has a leadership profile. Does anybody not have one? There's some extra ones up here on the front page, okay? They look like this, right? This is information provided to us and encouragement from BWP, all right? Now, where it says Elkhart Community Schools Leaders Profile, you know, yeah, the board had some input in. They interviewed us, but they interviewed 1,000 more people than the board. This was put together as a summary by BWP of the information you gave them on community stakeholder surveys, meetings, and clearly your input. All right. And those are the items they've gone through. And as other speakers have talked to, Frank Serge checks off every one of those boxes. And the other thing that was required was a 100-day plan. Frank brought to us a 100-day plan that hit it out of the park. It was a home run. Okay, May 25th. Excuse me for a second. We at BWP urge, but it's actually we, I put in BWP, urge you to use the Elkhart School Leadership Profile to ground your assessment and discussions for the finalists. And in big, bold, red letters, this is from BWP, not me. As a board, you agreed that this accurately represents the skills, experiences, and personal qualities you believe are needed to run your school. All right. We had a consensus on 3 candidates. There were 3 excellent candidates. I could not have asked for a more stellar group of candidates for Elkhart Community Schools principals. Okay. So moving on. Transparency. As I said before, and some of you folks have brought to, the board has failed at being transparent with the community as 3 finalists became known to the board. Many school corporations across the nations do this as a regular venue. Here are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I stopped at 7, okay? And I went in and read each one of them. Most of them do a very, very good job. The one put forward by Ocala, Florida was awesome. I could not believe what they were doing in a meet and greet with their candidates to get them out to the public and for the public to have input on. All right, we should use that as a model and keep going. This is not a one-off process. It's routinely done every day. I took our recruiters to task extensively in the fact that they did not bring that option forward to us. We as a school board over here, over the past 70 years, have probably picked 4 superintendents. Okay, so it's a job that this board is never going to be good at. All right, any board is going to be good at, because we don't change superintendents that often historically. Okay, so how are you going to get good at a job that you never do? Basically, you don't. You'll rely on the experts to come to you with the right plan, the right process, and they said, hey, follow this. We are following their process, and I intend to make this board adhere to the process that everybody agreed to. Okay? It was clearly stated, as I read, it's in yellow in red letters at the bottom of that page. The recruiter said, you have agreed. Okay? There was consensus on the board of the final 3 candidates. Any one of them, we put together, you go to a sporting event, somebody's going to go home with a trophy. We don't come at the end of it and say, nah, sorry about that. We're not going to do that. You just go home. All right. That doesn't work that way in real life. Okay. And I will close this out for my personal involvement right here. There's a quote by, you know this individual well, Martin Luther King Jr. I dream of the day when all Americans will be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And I will add courage to that quote. People are judged by their courage. I think it takes a lot of courage for Mr. Serge to have endured this process. And I agree, it was ugly. No doubt about it. All right. It is shameful how this was conducted. All right. But at the end of the day, I see no reason to refuse a qualified candidate, which everybody agreed to, this job. And I stand by my motion. And anybody else? There you go, Mr. President.
Vice President.
Mr. Vice President.
Be clear.
All right.
Any other board? No, I don't know. I don't know who's going to speak. This is
I'll talk. This has been a journey for all of us, as Debbie said. I think we have learned a lot from the beginning of the process as we were going through evaluating our district, our district strengths, our weaknesses, and realizing that we have big challenges to address, really big. We have enrollment declining, we have academic achievement that is not close to where it needs to be, and we have to right-size our district so we can be financially viable. And through this process, we also focused on the qualities, what we need in the leadership profile. Yes, there are many people that I feel from a quality standpoint would fit the leadership profile. I believe we have staff that fit the leadership profile in our district, which to me, I'm glad that I can say that, because I think that's a tribute to the many people that work in our district that work hard every day. And those are the kind of people we want. As I look to the vision of the district, I want this district to be known for excellence in education. I want it to be known as outstanding programming and curriculum we exceed the state averages in every single category, and our ultimate goal is blue ribbon schools. That's my vision. I want our kids to be able to have the career technology certifications that they need. And I want our kids who want to go to college to be prepared, because today they're not. And the data proves that out. I want a district where the students are excited and engaged to attend and proud to attend. And I want families and communities that are proud to support us. And I want a staff that's proud and support to work in it also. And we chose this path. We chose a national firm so that we could be able to see the best of the best, to have them bring them to us. They'd gone down a previous path using other firms, stayed within the state, and we didn't get the breadth of the pool wasn't there. We've seen some really great candidates. I've learned a lot from each of the candidates we've looked at. The candidates and the success they've had are first rate. And when you talk to them and you see what their results are and what they've been able to do in a short amount of time is really remarkable. And I look at a couple of the candidates we had that were very similar to our district and were doing very similar things. And they would have been assets as well. And I think we've done this process in a way so that the process will work. We were on a short timeline. We listened to our consultants. We said this is the best way to do it, to be able to get the number and quality of candidates you want. They said you need to keep it confidential, so that way that you will get the best you want. So that's what we did. We have been meeting, we've been trying to work through. All of us are 7 individual people. We all process differently. We all discuss things. We all interpret things differently. And we're working really hard to find the best person to lead this district. I think the process is working. Some people may not. It's the process. It can be messy. Nothing in this world lately seems to be a straight line. But at the end of the day, I think we'll get there. I have the utmost respect for Frank Serge. I have known Frank Serge for a long time. I was blessed to work on some things with him and be a part of his principal advisory council at the school. My kids went there. His success and dedication and passion for the students of this district is unparalleled. I am extremely grateful for his willingness to always come back when asked, to help where he is needed. He is a true asset to this community and to this school district, and I firmly believe that. But I also know that there are things that we've been trying to get done in this community for decades, and we haven't been able to get done. And I also think that at times it's best to bring in somebody who's highly qualified with a lot of experience and a track record of success that can bring new ideas and new perspectives. Does that mean that I am against Mr. Serge? 150% absolutely not. I appreciate everything that he has done, and I appreciate that everything that hopefully he will continue to do. And do I think that there's ways that he can serve in different capacities? I absolutely do. But we need a leader who can deal with a lot of stuff at once. We've got buildings that we need to look at. We've got transportation issues. We've got curriculum and instruction issues. We've got people to find in different buildings. There's a lot of challenges. And it's going to take a whole group effort. And this community at some point needs to get behind its school district. The parents need to start supporting their teachers and their school districts and realize this is a partnership. It's not us against them. We have to start working together. It's hard. At times it's very messy. It's like coming from a big family, which I am one, and it's not always easy. And we fight and we argue and we process and we go away and we settle down and we come back and we discuss. And at the end of the day, we end up coming up with the best solutions to the problems. And we've got a lot of problems we need to solve. And we can't solve them unless everybody's on the same page and working together. I think we can get there. I think finding the right people, putting the people in the right place, in the right role, will help us immensely. And so at this point, that's how I'm looking at this. I think, the best candidate, the right candidate to lead this district, I believe is still out there. And I think Frank Serge is a huge asset to this district. And I think he can play a role. But in my opinion, at this point, I think we, as a board, we need to continue discussing. I think we continue looking to find the best candidate. And if we need it and go forward with an interim to give us that time, I think that's what we should do.
As we move forward with things, I agree with Ann that we have to look and try and find the best candidate out there and available. And that was the reason why we hired the search firm of BWP to do the nationwide search for us. And I think there's a little confusion in that. It is correct that they did hire, or they did bring us 22 applicants. It is correct that from those 22, we had 6 candidates that were selected for interview. It is correct that there was a additional request to have a 7th candidate slated, but Frank Serge was not that 7th candidate. Frank was one of the 6 that was brought to us by BWP. Going through that initial round of interviews, he was also one that went from the top 6 to the final 3. As I prepare to make my vote tonight, I am looking at it from several different perspectives. First and foremost, I look at it from the perspective of who do I think can do the best job for our students, our school corporation, and our community. On the flip side of that, also in the realization that we're not a unified board at this time, I have to look at the other side of the coin in that which path that we go down tonight will be the least damaging for our community, our schools, and ultimately our kids. Is it better to go with a candidate that we have in front of us? Or is it better to go down the unknown path again? Just 3 months ago, we hired a search firm to bring us the best and the brightest in the country. And we felt confident that they did that at that time.
how that pool of candidates has changed in the last 3 months as we go to the end of this academic year and prepare to go into the beginning of the next year is still very unknown. We can hope and wish and pray that a new candidate comes before us. But the old expression goes that hope is not a strategy. The third facet that I looked through in making my decision tonight is that as a local official representing my district, and while I have been elected by my district to make the best decision I feel is possible, it's also my responsibility as an elected official to listen to the opinions and concerns that are brought forward to me, positive and negative, from members of my district. But the last, and to me, the most important facet that I looked for in making this decision is, as been said over and over tonight, what is in the best interest of the kids? If one of our kids was in a critical situation and needed intervention, who would be the candidate to move forward and offer that child hope, protection, encouragement, and whatever else it took? And those are going to be the four facets that I look through as I make my decision tonight.
I just want to say, I've been entirely transparent. When I started this, I had very little idea of what I would be doing up here. I knew that we would be hiring a superintendent and setting policy that benefited the most kids that we could. Not everybody's going to get caught up. Not everybody's going to be covered by what we say or do up here. We have to look for what's in the best interest of as many kids as we could. That being said, I want to also clear up that there have been some allegations that this is personally or politically motivated. The last time I saw Frank Serge was 19 years ago when he handed me my diploma when I walked across the stage. I couldn't have picked Frank out of a crowd if my life depended on it. Since I've left high school, I've been in various positions where I had to review applicants, resumes, conduct interviews, hire, based on minimal interaction. Your paper is what sold you to me. And then when I talked to you, that was your make or break. As part of the board, we are privy to more information than the general public should be. I don't know that that's necessarily the case for everybody now, because as people have pointed out, it has been, I don't want to say leaked, but it has been talked about pretty openly, things that shouldn't have been talked about to the general public that was supposed to remain confidential. With all of that in mind, I looked at Frank's resume and all the other candidates strictly as a business proposition. He was somebody I was looking to hire, or I was looking to pass over for somebody else. The two interviews that we conducted, unfortunately, made me come to my decision of which way I was going to go. And I also want to clear up that Doug had mentioned that it was a consensus that he was number 3. In a way, yes, there was strong opposition to begin with. Frank was offered another interview because one of our board members strongly valued the other opinions of other board members, so we had another interview with him. I don't disagree. I think that was the right thing to do. But again, as strictly a business proposition, that was his chance to come in and sell us. Whether he did or not is how we're all going to vote on it. I also want to go back to what Rocky said, and many of other people have said this, there is no transparency. I agree we could have done it better. I also agree that we were kind of in a time crunch to get the next person in for the next year. So it was kind of an accelerated timetable. So we didn't have the luxury to take as long as we would want to vet everybody, to get everybody up on a stage and have the community interaction. Unfortunately, that just wasn't possible for where we were. The one other thing I wanted to say was that I don't know anybody in the community. I graduated high school. I live in the community. I don't really talk to a whole lot of people that have kids in the school system. So I'm not influenced by how people feel because I don't know. I've got some emails, I've got some text messages, some phone calls, both, one going one way, one going the other, and that's all fine. But strictly from a business standpoint, we have to look at our next candidate coming in for the best of our district, best of our kids, best of our teachers, all of that in mind. That is why I was wanting a superintendent candidate that had teaching experience, basically came in, started from the ground up, and worked their way to the top. I do not think that just because somebody has been in the school system or in the community for X amount of years that grants you a pass, as and I forget her name said, that we need to stick to that. We had a leadership profile that called for experience in that position. We have said time and time again, we need somebody that can come in, hit the ground running, right size our district. Unfortunately, not all of our candidates had it. Honestly, I don't know that we had one that really fit the bill because nobody was perfect. But unfortunately, I just did not believe that Frank Serge was the correct person. And I'm not going to sit up here and lie to you and say that he is useless, because he is not. He absolutely is an asset to this district. I just don't think that the top position of the district is where he would be best utilized. And to go back to what Doug said, excuse me, I can close my iPad. Doug had said, how do you get good at a job you never do? My simple response is, how can you be good at a job you've never done? And that's why, unfortunately, I passed on Frank Serge when he was interviewed.
Daisy?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. This has been a very difficult process, and to see the board so divided when we have worked so hard over the last year to improve our cooperation and communication and work so well together, it is very disheartening to see us at this point. I think we're doing our community, our staff, and our families a disservice by where we're at today. I still believe in the process that we went forward. It was a very thorough process. We interviewed several search firms, and every search firm told us to try to find a permanent superintendent instead of an interim. Every single consultant we work with, every single search firm we work with told us the same thing. And so as a board, that's what we did. We've met every Friday for months. So we have agreed every step of the way what we as a board wanted to do. And what we discussed was what some people have said already, that we needed somebody with proven experience, with a track record. It's not just about credentials. Some of you are right. Leadership is not just about credentials, but the state of our school district, we need somebody with a proven track record that is well experienced and well versed in a lot of the areas we have. And that can't be somebody who's never done the job that needs support to do it. So I still believe in the process. I think we had some good candidates, but unfortunately, the person we extended the offer to declined, and I don't feel like any of the other candidates that were left were able to fit what we need at this point. So I believe that we still need to continue the process to find the best person for the job that can take us in a different direction. It's not enough to just know Elkhart. You have to be prepared to step into this position on day one and be able to take us in a different direction, understand all the facets of the job, and be well versed, not just based on a doctorate degree or a superintendent's license, but have the background and the knowledge and experience and the track record and the experience in all of the areas we need, in human resources, in finance, in operations, in curriculum and instruction and discipline. There's lots of different things. So just because I don't feel like Frank Serge is the right person for the superintendent's job, I have a great respect for the things he's done and the legacy he's left. I do think that he still has a place in Elkhart. I just don't believe it's as superintendent. So I'll stand by my original position that we still need to continue this process. I believe the process is working and it can still work. And I think we need to put our differences aside and do what's best for our students and families and come together as one board and keep this process moving until we find the right person for the superintendent's position.
Thank you. Well, I've heard things here tonight that bring great pride to this district. And I've heard things tonight that have saddened me. I'll start with, what great pride to hear the stories, to hear the life-changing influence, Mr. Serge, you had on your students, to hear the great things that you were able to accomplish in your role and continue to accomplish coming out of retirement. I told you, that's something to be very proud of. You made a difference. You touched the future, okay? And that's never been in doubt, never questioned from me. Do I think there's a role for you going forward where you can continue to do amazing things, continue to have impact on students and kids' lives like you have in the past, change for the better, from the student level to the academic level to the district level? Absolutely. There is a role and a solution for your talents. So I told you that when we met, and I still stand firmly behind that. With that said, where I'm saddened is we had a process. We had a process that we met collectively as a board for many, many Fridays. We had discussions. How's this going to work? Because Doug said it. The board is never going to be good at this, so we need to lean into experts to help us along the way. And we did that. We hired a firm that specializes in searches. We discussed many, many things. Is it going to be confidential? Is it not going to be confidential? We made decisions as a group. And I'm not going to sit here and counter everything that's been said. There's some things that I agree with. There's some things that I don't agree with. But we had a process. And it's a process that we all had input. And it was a process that we were working under until the night. I've heard transparency. I've heard unity, community. What's occurring here tonight is not transparent. This wasn't an agenda item. This wasn't an opportunity for everybody to say, do you know that the board is going to vote on a superintendent tonight? We are now on item E, superintendent search update. I did not know that there was going to be a motion. And I sit on the board and I've spent countless hours with these individuals and I didn't know it. Is that transparent? It is not. We are playing into what the community says about school boards, not only here, but across the country. We are here now at the 11th hour subverting or undermining the process that we all agreed to It was never discussed by BWP when they went out to the community and said, you know, how this is going to work. We're going to advertise nationally. We're going to try to get some great candidates in here. We're going to vet them. We are going to do background checks on them. We're going to check their credentials. We're going to talk with the community and what's important to you. What do you need to see in your next superintendent? We're going to interview the board and get their input. We're going to put a leadership profile and run it up against the candidates and the information that they have. And then we're going to make a selection and push the candidates through to which there's going to be an interview process. And it's going to take a consensus or majority of the board to vote for that candidate they think will best be transformative, lead this district into a culture of excellence, and make a change. It was never said to the community, part of this process is at any time, just so you know, a faction of the board could show up at a meeting, not announce it to anyone else on the board, put a motion on the table, not give you the opportunity to even be informed or have comment, and try to undermine the process. That was never part of the process, and it was never discussed with this group. That's what saddens me. I believe in the process. I wish the process would have led us to a decision that we could all agree on, but it didn't. But I still believe in the process. And to undermine the process at the 11th hour, I think is not at all transparent. I think it's a message we're sending to the community. It's like, we value your input, sort of. At the end of the day, we're going to do whatever we think is right, whether it's the majority of us or the minority. And we're going to push things through at the 11th hour, and you're not going to know about it. And you're going to wake up the next day, and you're going to read the paper that a vote that wasn't announced, that wasn't on the agenda, occurred, and Elkhart has a new superintendent. That was not part of the process. I believe in the process. I think the process should continue. I think it will give us the right person to make a difference and change this district around. Again, does that involve Frank Serge? I hope we can find a role for you because I value you. But this is not part of the process. So at this point, because I think this lacks transparency, I think this just impugns the integrity of this process, which I believe in. I am going to place a motion to table the current motion on the floor.
Speak first.
She hasn't spoken.
I asked if you.
No,
go
I
ahead.
didn't hear. I just waited for you. So some of the things that I heard, one of the things I want to go back to is when we were at our board meeting at Central, when we hosted that one there, and the timeline went up of what we were going to be doing. Transparency was, I had no idea that timeline was going up. Most of us did not know that timeline was going up. We talk about, a timeline. Why? Why did we need to do that? Because we wanted to get the best candidates, because they had to sign a contract, because we were worried about whether or not they would have an opportunity to stay at their school system. So we rushed something based on that. So let's start there. We hired a company that, yes, at first it was only one. We pushed to have a couple of interviews. We chose this one because we thought the communication with them was great, and they would have an opportunity to find candidates nationally. They had multiple candidates that they presented to us. They discussed it all steps of the way. We landed on 6. I had no idea which 6 ones were in there. I had absolutely no idea, but I know that when I was handed a packet and I was told, these are your 6 best candidates. At any point in time, you can hire one of these candidates and they will be a successful superintendent. This is a company that we paid over $30,000 to that told us that. It didn't have anything to do with superintendent or how long you've been in the district. They went through everything and checked superintendent licenses. They even spoke highly of Frank prior to us even doing any of that. We'd had a discussion with what they heard inside of our school system, with what they heard from our community. So Frank was already on the top of both Steve and Phil's minds. So let's make sure that that's there. when we got to it, yeah, this has not been a comfortable situation, and you can clearly tell that there's a lot of discussion that is going on. And, you know, we talk about an interim. We know that one is going to be put into place because we're going to have one. Is it going to be one person? Is it going to be two people? Are they going to be from our community? Are they going to be local? Some board members already know who their thoughts are. Yet here we have somebody that, you know, listen, I love you, Frank, but like my children were challenging, not my daughter. She was not challenging. My children were challenging. We did not see eye to eye on many things. And there were some times that I thought that he was very biased one way versus another. And we came down to the 11th hour ourselves in a pretty, you know, I like to say, hey, right there, you know, all the way up until the youngest one walked across the stage, I was still challenging him like you cannot believe. And so for people in the public to believe that I think that he walks on water, that I think he is the end all be all, that's very unfair. If you want to talk about confidentiality, we had candidates that had reference letters from mayors, other board members, community members. We had a board member that was on the news and in the newspapers in Kalamazoo and other various places. So, you know, cautiously I say that in areas confidentiality is a huge thing, but in other areas it was off the table. I sit here right now thinking about two men sitting in this room that I have the most admiration for, and I've been shaking and kind of getting nervous. Here we have Steve that will be leaving soon, that's trying to figure out what his next pathway is as we navigate through all of this, and he has to listen to every bit of it. We have Frank back there who, you know, hears how his community loves him and knows that a lot of people don't, and that's been clear on social media. And I want to remind everybody, when you're bashing people on social media, you're also attacking their family, and their family works for us, and that was very unfair. And you left a wife and children having to sit there and read that about their family. And I, to be honest with you, can't even believe he's still sitting in this room. You know, so that's something that we need to remember. You want to talk about it. This became divisive when that happened. The word has been used that Frank is polarizing. No, we polarized Frank. We as a board polarized Frank. We did him unjust. The fact that we're going to get an interim, whether or not we do this, you know, and you might find it disrespectful, I find it as a way to be heard. I tend to be the emotional outburst on the board. There's no shocker in that. Everybody's aware. Sometimes that's just how I express myself. It is what it is. I have to come back and ask for grace. I have to apologize. There's time that I have to pick up the pieces that I've left behind, but so be it. At the end of the day, I remind this board, we're going to be long gone and forgotten about before you know it. We're going to be a name on a dusty old plaque that nobody's going to remember. Nobody's going to care about Kelly Mullins. I mean, granted, I'll be doing here until I'm 90, but that's the only thing that people are going to remember. They don't care what we serve. You know, as much as I love Rocky, he's a blink of an eye and already forgotten about because people have moved on. It's what we do, the decisions we make. We have left this school scarred in many different areas. We have an opportunity, whether or not we place him as the superintendent, or we place him as the interim of what was presented before, with the guiding of two other people, or like Mary Jo said, a mentor. The fact of the matter is, this decision for me to do this today is because overwhelmingly, as a at-large, you know, person on this board, I have walked all over this city. I have spent the majority of my time in our Hispanic community. And, you know, he was challenged by staff that they want interpreters. They want people at that school. They want things at Pimran that they need. You know, he may not agree, you may not agree, but our EL program is failing. And we talk about demographics. Wake up, people. We need to serve our Hispanic community. They are who we are right now. That is where we need to be thinking. And even inside of that community, what I heard from them, especially at Pimran, is it gives them hope that their children are going to make the right decisions. You know, that their children are going to be surrounded by the right people. You know, look, I can tell from some of my people on the ETA, some of my people that are teachers, I've even heard it from some of my friends, that they find him challenging, sometimes disrespectful, this, that, the other. I hear that about me inside of my own home. You know, I mean, but the fact of the matter is, no matter what we do, it is a matter of what our community, what our contingent, you know, our you know, staff, our parents, our students, that's what we're basing this on. So this is not meant to be disrespectful or in the 11th hour. This is a fact. We're going to put an interim in, and all 7 of us know that. And to not look at these people in here and say that it is going to happen is wrong. We already know that there are those of us on this board talking about it. And I don't care if you guys find me disrespectful or not confidential, so be it. It's who I am. I'm okay with that at the end of the day. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to spin things. I'm not going to keep things from you. That's not my job. I don't get to do that. If that's the case, do not vote for me again because I have no right to be here. But we are going to put an interim in. The mistake we are making is if you're not going to give him the superintendent contract because for whatever reason, 4-3 is something happening, you owe it to this community to put him in that role. And the thing that bothers me is there's members that have said, well, if he has to have more than one person to help him, he can't do the job. If he can't do this, if he can't speak eloquently in public, if he can't do this, he can't do the job. I can't speak eloquently in public half the time. We're about to introduce possibly 2 people, so I'm very confused on the transparency of everything. So at the end of the day, where we failed with Steve, we failed in different areas. Right now, we are about to epically fail, even if it is a short-term thing like he mentors and guides somebody in. To say that he isn't the right person when we're looking at interims and possibly 2 people to do it is where I draw the line. And that's why I was fine with this 11th hour, because to be honest with you, if this was the only way I could be heard or seen, disrespectful or not to you guys, sorry, it's just the way it's going to have to be. But I cannot sit here on this board as 7 and in 5 years into this, continue to go back over and over the same mistakes that we make again. And I'm sorry that the process may be moving forward, but the process has been epically failed from day one in different areas of the way that we have handled it. We protected ourselves by the confidentiality. We didn't care about our community. We cared about ourselves. And we're long gone and forgotten about before you know it.
Yes.
I'd like to add some additional insight into this. I find that, there's a word for it, but I didn't know that there could be a motion tonight. I specifically requested the superintendent update be put on that agenda because it was vacant. Okay. Part of that had to do with getting your input. Okay. We're hiding under this illustrious thing of, well, we don't have a consensus, so therefore we're not going to go talk to anybody. Bullshit. All right. I call it that way right now. Okay. Now, also, I didn't know, okay, as a board, okay, we at BWP urge you to use the leadership profile. He said nothing else. That says they drew you to this board right here. That's it. I've got the email here if you want to see it. That's it. Okay, now, I didn't know. We at BWP urge you to use the leadership profile to ground. What's that mean? Okay, to base your decisions on. Not nothing else. Not even your opinion. All right? On this, because this was your opinion. Consolidated down as a guide for the board to say, hey, this is it right here. Okay? And discussion with the finalists. Okay, as a board, you agreed. This is your $30,000 recruitment outfit telling us you have agreed, all right, that this leadership accurately represents the skills, experience, and personal qualities you believe are needed to lead your schools. Now, this is it. We agreed on 3 people. They are wonderful candidates. I really liked them. I enjoyed them. They're at the top of their game, all right? Every one of them. But somewhere along the line, it's like, okay, this candidate right here, we can't use this, we got to start over again. All right. Somebody changed the rules in this thing. All right. And it wasn't me. All right. I got confused there. I had to go back and look at every email that was sent out by BWP to find this. All right. Because it's there. It is staring you in the face. It's staring you in the face, you in the face, you in the face, and Daisy, you too. All right. So who changed? Who says I didn't know? All right. That's a two-way street right there. All right. So people on this board need to own up to the responsibilities to follow the process, because this is the process. They laid it out for you. I put it in black, white, yellow, and red. All right. So that you know what you're doing. If you want to jump the rails and jump the tracks, okay, go ahead, but don't blame it on me. Don't blame it on anybody else on this board. You are responsible. You are responsible for this mess. And this community, this board owes Mr. Serge a huge public apology for this mess. All right? That mess was created by the board. As Kelly, your name Kelly? As Kelly said.
See, I'm already forgotten.
See, yeah, you're talking about dust. There you go. Yeah. As Kelly said, gee, Frank, you're too polarizing. I heard that twice said, and both times I not defended, I opposed that statement vehemently. All right, because this board, this group of 7 right here are the ones that polarized Frank Serge. Nobody else. All right. So you might as well get off your high horses and do your job out there, because this is the process. Don't tell me it's not something else. All right. This is the process. You agreed to it. It was the consensus for 3 candidates. All right. Any one of which were suitable. Otherwise, they would not have been in the mix. Okay. Now, one candidate decides, hey, I got a better deal someplace else. That's fine. Another candidate says that, yeah, I don't know that I can handle a 4-3 board. Well, okay, well, that tells me that, hey, if you can't handle Doug Weaver, that's like, shit, my wife handles me all the time. You know, it's like, that's no big deal. All right. If you're that unsure of your skill set, when you praise that you walk on water, okay, give it a shot. I'm not going to stand in your way. All right, give it a shot. But do not lack your personal convictions on yourself and how you do a job. All right. That is unacceptable. All right. And therefore, that candidate said, okay, I'm gone. All right. So now we're, down to one candidate. And Frank somebody said he was the 3rd candidate. He was not. They were not numbered as 1, 2, and 3. They never, at least I don't know that they were. All right. They were, should be and could be equally interchangeable. Matter of fact, I said, hey, I'd hire 2 of the 3. Would love to. But you can't do that, because you have to have a superintendent pick his own staff. Because otherwise, you got a sacred cow out here that was picked by the board. Okay. That doesn't work anymore. All right. So I don't know what to tell you and stuff like that, but I am extraordinarily disappointed in this board. And the mess that was created by this board due to incompetence, hand-wringing, dilatory tactics, and a failure to act quickly. That's where we screwed up at. We should have put an interim superintendent in, bingo, like that. Because every organization looks for leadership. They do. All right. And when that leadership is in question, they go adrift. And guess what? We've drifted far. All right. So anyhow, that was ours. And some people have used that to impugn the reputation of Mr. Serge out there. And that is unacceptable. And I go back, I hope Frank would accept my apologies for my role in this debacle. That's all I have to say.
As Doug made his motion tonight, for me, it was never about, I don't think for any of us, it was ever about trying to hijack the board or force a new decision. As Kelly said, I think all 7 of us coming in here tonight knew that we were heading down the road of an interim. But the fact that we've had over 2 hours of discussion tonight showed that this discussion was very needed. While taking a public vote shows that as a board, we are divided, and that comes to no surprise of anybody in this room. I think to table the vote tonight decreases the level of transparency and accountability. When I took this post, I'm not afraid to publicly vote on anything. And for that reason, I hope that we do not have a motion that is presented and seconded tonight to table this discussion, because to table it rather than execute it is only sweeping things back in the closet.
How many of you feel that you were able to have your voice heard tonight? Raise your hand. Raise your hands. Okay. Okay, now, if you didn't feel you get a fair opportunity to talk, after, at the end of the board meeting, the public can speak again on any subject for 3 minutes. So if you didn't get your voice heard, please fill out the little white form, get it to Dora, and speak some more if you want. All right. That is one of the reasons why we're here tonight, for transparency, to engage the public in decision making. Okay. Thanks.
Anyone else? Again, I've listened to what Kelly said. I think she said that all 7 of us know that we're going down a path of an interim. I wouldn't disagree with that. I actually agree with that. I believe the motion on the floor is to name Frank Serge as the superintendent, not interim superintendent. So, a little confused on the motion, yet the acknowledgement that all 7 of us know we're walking down a path of an interim. And that is, I would agree with that. I think we, at this point, need to discuss what that looks like, how we're going to figure that process out. I think we need to speak with some individuals that have done that in the past. We can speak with more than one entity. I think we need to get a knowledge. I think we need to seek to understand. So, Kelly, I do agree with you that we're going down an interim path, and Jeff, you mentioned it as well. So the motion on the floor to name Frank Serge the superintendent, I have a motion to table that because it's clear, based on the comments, that we're not in agreement with that. We all think we're going down a path of interim. And I would further say that we need to continue with this process and be very transparent in it. So
I'd like to object to that, just because
it's my motion.
We already had a motion on the floor.
Right, and I have a motion to table it, and it's my motion, and you can not vote for it. Okay. It's not the time to discuss it. If I get a second, I don't know that I'll get a second. You'll have an opportunity to discuss at that point. So that is.
Do you want me to change the words?
That is the motion that's currently on the table.
So then right.
Do we have a second?
Mr. Thorne, are you paying attention?
Of course I'm paying attention, Mr. Beaver.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Oh, there you are.
Well, you can stand by. You just go stand.
No, because I need to be on the microphone so people who are listening online can hear me. I don't want to get in trouble with our president. No. So you've got a motion to table, or actually a motion to postpone consideration under Robert's rules. Correct. Do we have a second?
To postpone Frank Serge.
To postpone consideration tonight.
Postpone consideration.
Yes, I would second that.
All right. So you can discuss.
Now it's open to discussion.
That motion to postpone consideration.
So then do I change the verbiage?
No, not until you have this motion voted on to
postpone consideration on Mr. Weaver's original motion. Okay, Mr. Weaver, was your intention to vote Frank Serge as the superintendent? Or was your intention to vote Frank Serge as the interim superintendent? What were your intentions? Because Mr. Scott has made his motion thinking that you were confused in the way that you stated your original motion.
Well, thank you for bringing that up because I was a little bit taken aback by that. So I will read the motion again. By roll call vote, I move that Mr. Frank Serge, the remaining available finalist, okay, does anybody not understand that? As determined to be a qualified finalist by the National Recruiting Consulting Company of BWP and also by prior qualifications by the Elkhart Community School Board to be extended an offer of employment to serve as Elkhart Community School Superintendent effective July 1st, 2023 for the term of not less than 3 years. Does anybody in this room not understand that? Is that motion confusing?
That was completely my.
So you still have a discussion on the motion to postpone consideration.
Yeah, I will state that while, for myself, I believe that that motion will fail and that it will put us on the record as to who wants or would like to see that motion carried for Frank to be offered a contract, and who would oppose that. That it is very relevant to execute that in a public fashion rather than simply making a motion to table it and shove it away to, as Kelly said, not be heard from again.
Yes, it's time to cut bait and fish, folks. We need to put a stake in this tonight, one way or the other, okay, so that we as a board can move on. One way or the other. And again, my support is clearly behind Frank Serge. So make no mistake about that.
So we have a motion to postpone consideration of naming Frank Serge as a superintendent, and we have a second. There's no further discussion. I call for roll call vote.
I got a question.
Yes.
Question of the floor. Okay, doesn't it have to have a date of when that will come back again?
Actually, Mr. Weaver, the motion postpone consideration can be indefinitely or to a date certain.
Okay. I make a motion that is to a date certain for that motion.
So you're amending Mr. Scott's motion to table to a date certain, and what would that date be?
That date will be. That will be the next board meeting when everybody's here.
July June the 26th, if I recall correctly. 27th.
And again, I do not think that gives us enough time to do our due diligence, to think through the process. And so if I have to amend it to a date not certain until we collectively can function as a board and discuss things and figure out what direction we want to go.
At this point in time, you've got Mr. Weaver's motion to amend your motion. Is there a second to that amendment?
Is there a second to that amendment?
Wait, I'm gonna walk through everything.
No, that's fine. No.
Okay, I'm just gonna walk through everything, okay? We put a motion out because we wanted a roll call, because we wanted to be heard who was in support of Frank being the superintendent and who was not, okay? Then I stated interim. So at what point do you change the verbiage, or is that part of our discussion on Frank being interim?
That's part of the discussion. Mr. Weaver's original motion still is to appoint Mr. Serge for a period of not less than 3 years.
Correct.
Now, of course, under the law, we still have to have a public hearing on any contract that was issued to Mr. Serge, detailing all of that, all of those provisions, and then I've already
And
to get
he
the
wanted
board.
us to do it to the 27th, but now you're saying that's not enough time, yet we rushed a superintendent search to get to where we are today. So now we change and decide that we don't have enough time
No, I think that
No, I'm right. We rushed a superintendent search to get to where we are today instead of putting an interim in. Now Doug wants us to have the discussion, which we already know as a board, we're having the discussion, everybody. It's already there with people, so I don't know why we're playing games still, even though people have asked us not to play games. And so now you don't want Doug to have it discussed at the next board meeting because you don't think we have enough time, even though people already have discussions going on. And because it's not enough time. I just want to make sure I have that right.
Correct.
So then I'm going to stand by Doug's that I want it for the following board meeting because we can't keep playing semantics with time.
So you are amending the motion to amend Mr. Scott's original motion
Yes.
to postpone consideration.
Yes.
Thank you.
So.
And then
if it
you're
goes
going to
to-
amend me. So
if it
let's
goes to
figure
a
out what we're
vote,
doing.
to a date certain or not a date certain, if it goes to a vote, and we vote in favor of not a date certain, but we still want to preserve the postponement.
This is my point. This is
How
why
does that
we're here,
work?
everybody. This is why we're
This
here.
is like a homework
This-
project
Well, this is
on
why
Robert's
we're here.
rules of order. At this point in time, I believe Kelly has seconded Doug's motion to amend your motion, Troy. So I think where we are right now is a vote on the motion to amend the motion to postpone to a date certain, which would now be the 27th.
So we're just voting on that amendment. And then we can go back, if that does not pass.
If this motion, if the amended motion passes,
Exactly.
It's a date certain.
it's a date certain,
If it does not pass,
then we're back to,
postponement without a date certain.
yes.
Okay. Now we have board discussion on my motion, correct? On the amended motion. That's correct. Thank you. All right. And discussion? Okay, and then following that, the public will speak also. They have that opportunity.
Yes, they do. I will step away from the podium unless I get called back, but I'll just stay in the room.
Stay right here. Stay right here.
I will start the conversation off first. And have we moved back the start of school for the 2023
No, we're
year?
still the same.
Did we move it back?
No, we
Huh?
are. No, teachers still.
Oh, right. That's right. We didn't move back. What are we waiting on? 2 weeks is plenty of time. The 27th of June? Man, you could get to the moon in that time. All right? So let's quit the, as I said before, dilatory tactics. Okay? Delay, hurry, delay, hurry, delay. This public, this community is tired of it. It is time to cut bait and fish. All right? School will come in, August sometime, like it does every year. All right? Guess what? We're not going to have a superintendent. All right? So we're going to put it off another 2 weeks. Well, hey, I'm sorry. That's on you. It's on you, not me. All right? There's a solution and a superintendent sitting in the room, and you walk away from it. Unacceptable.
Any other comments?
I have a comment. Okay, at this point, you guys are going.
They come to the board or up here,
Mike,
please. Thanks.
Angela Whitlow. At this point, you guys are going back and forth, and time is obviously of an essence. So what is the big deal about putting 2 weeks? Obviously, you haven't come to an agreement now, so 2 weeks, you guys are going to have to pull your big girls and boys pants up and make an agreement in 2 weeks, whether you want Frank Serge as a superintendent, just the superintendent, not the intern, but the superintendent, because that's what's the motion. If I follow correctly, that's the motion, that's the second motion, that's the third motion.
Right.
Get the crap done. 2 weeks with time limit. Why we keep moving it off? This is ridiculous. The public wants an answer. Stop.
So please come.
So it's my understanding that you all had voted
to hire this company, is that correct? You all voted to pay the 30,000, I guess is what it was. You all voted that.
Correct.
But now when it comes down to the point of accepting what they said and they offered, we have 4 of you that are saying no. And you want to start it again. I don't understand. Do you trust the company that you hired or don't you? That's all. That's a waste of money. Thank you.
I just want to add something real quick.
There's a gentleman.
Yeah, I can wait.
Oh, but I was hoping you came to speak.
I've stood there and listened to this process, and obviously the board is confused. You're back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So anything that's confused, listen, I don't feel comfortable in rushing into this process. I don't care what you're saying. You talk 2 weeks is 2 weeks. You need to go back and discuss this. Obviously, you have some pushback. You need to listen to what the constituents are saying and what the taxpayers are saying. Why rush? You're trying to put a timetable, trying to push it down someone's throat. I'm not with that. My grandchildren's lives and livelihoods is at stake right now. I think you need to wait, get yourself together, and make the proper decision. You don't have to clap for me. I'm just telling the truth.
Any other comments?
Yes, I would agree with the gentleman that children's lives are at stake in this, okay? And delaying and continuing to delay puts children's lives at risk, okay? Now, everybody has enough information here tonight, okay, to say, hey, let's go forward with Frank Serge or not. Stand up and be counted. It's your time, it's your turn. Do it.
Any other discussion? Dor, could you please read back the amended motion?
I believe the amended motion is to postpone consideration to a date certain, which would be July the 27th. June 27th, I'm sorry, June 27th. If Sarah would hand me a calendar, I would have got it right.
Roll call vote, please.
Mike Burnett,
I am going to have to vote no, that I am not in favor and rushing into this decision.
Jeff Weiler.
Can you read the motion one more time, Doug, just to make it the date
Motion
certain?
is to postpone consideration of Mr. Weaver's original motion until June the 27th Board of School Trustees meeting.
Can we come back? Is that allowed?
Yeah, it's.
We gotta wait until the motion is voted on.
Okay. Well, I was just gonna go with the next person.
I believe Mr. Weiler voted aye. I voted aye.
Stacy Davis,
No.
Troy Scott,
Too important of a decision to rush into. No.
Doug Weaver,
Yes, too important of a decision to delay.
and Vondervellen. No. Kelly Mullins.
I vote aye, and we need to remember that in 2 weeks, if we need to do something more, we have to extend it. So it's not a rush or not a rush. It's the discussion and the decision. So aye.
The amended did not carry, correct? The amended motion did not carry.
Correct.
So you're back to Mr. Scott's original motion. To postpone indefinitely.
To allow conversations and we can read the rest. So, yes, to postpone, not a date certain.
Without a date certain. Roll call with Mike Burnett.
There is no misconception that we are not going to have to come back to this. I just do not feel that 2 weeks is sufficient to clear the air of everything that we have to discuss. So yes, I postpone this right now.
Jeff Lyler.
No, I am voting nay, on this because I do not believe that we will come back to it. I believe this is a stall technique to move things along and pursue other avenues. Nay.
Stacy Davis.
Yes.
Troy Scott.
Yes.
No.
And Vonderbillen.
Yes.
Kelly Mullins.
No, we won't revisit.
The motion was carried.
Thank you.
4-3.
Also, I'd like to bring up another motion, and this has to do, hopefully this one won't take quite as long as everybody else, okay? But we have an executive session coming up after this board meeting, all right? The hour is late, okay? Nerves are frayed, okay? It's not going to help anything. I make a motion to cancel this evening's executive session. Is there a second? Discussion.
Again, you're all over the board. This decision has to be made. This decision has to be made in a timely fashion. We've got to set a date certain. It's very apparent that we are a board divided. We need time to discuss in executive session what the next steps are going to be. So when we actually have an opportunity to discuss this in executive session, you want to cancel a meeting. I don't understand. I want to
What is
follow.
happening in this executive session? What is happening?
We are going to discuss next steps. We have two representatives who are very highly valued superintendents who have been interim, who have helped with local school districts in an interim capacity. We are going to be able to ask them questions about what the interim process looks like, how it works, to give us the information and knowledge we need to take the next step. I think that's very important to know. It's very important to get that information tonight so we can be best equipped to make the right, correct decisions.
And I pray that this doesn't distort any opinion of me, which it's okay if it does, but this is exactly why this process continues to be this delicate, fragile, and broken.
My question is, how can we have a discussion of next steps when we just tabled a motion to vote on the last remaining candidate that we have standing?
Yeah.
If we want to put that aside and say that we're done with consideration for Mr. Serge in that role, that's fine. Then it would be an appropriate time to have the next step discussions. But otherwise, we're putting the cart before the horse. And this muddiness of process is what has gotten us here to this place tonight.
We still have a qualified candidate for a superintendent of Elkhart Community Schools who has not refused this job. Has not refused this job. So if you want to move on, let's clear the air right now and get it done and over with so that you can pick up and move on. It's kind of an odd process that we have board members going out and recruiting interim superintendents to their own liking for the rest of us to vote on. I think that's a highly inappropriate process. Okay, sidebar conversations, phone calls. Hey, I don't have the phone number of those two superintendents to give them a call. I don't think Kelly does. I'll bet Jeff don't either. Okay, so it's kind of a one-sided process here, isn't it? One-way street.
To be fair and completely transparent, when we started talking about interim many months ago, I was provided Mark Mao's phone number to call him and gauge his interest in coming back to the district as an interim superintendent as well. That was not to be done in the presence of the rest of the board members, but more to what you're speaking to, side conversations and sidebar conversations. So it's not fair that we're holding one person's feet to the fire when months ago, I was asked to do the exact same thing that we're complaining about now.
So this board asked you to do that?
Yes.
A junior member of the board
Oh, yeah,
asked you
I
to
was-
go do this?
absolutely.
I
It
was
was me,
suggested to
Kelly
call
Mullins. I gave him
Mark
the
Brown.
number. It was me, Kelly Mullins. We're not gonna play games. I don't play games with who I am. It was me, Kelly Mullins. I gave him that number because I wanted him to understand, because it's very difficult. It was a difficult position for me to be in. It's a difficult position for me to be in right now. Look, here's the deal. He's leaving. He's sitting back there having to go through this whole situation. It's pretty simple, guys. We don't have to beat around the bush, Mike.
Kelly,
We either
you're-
say that we want Frank or we don't. We want it put to a public vote so we can move on. Then we can have the discussion if these two and Frank work together as an interim or whatever. Please, when it's a topic about me, the one thing I don't want, and I shared that with another person, when I do something, I own it, whether I like it or not. So when it's a discussion, say my name, because it was me.
And I will say your name because I was also asked to
Yes,
call one of these individuals by you early on in this process.
absolutely, because I
So-
wanted you to talk to him
So
about him and
again-
Frank.
Again,
Yep, and I
to
did that
single
because I
me
wanted
out,
him to talk, yep.
when you asked me to do it, I did what you asked.
And that, exactly, and I asked you to do that so that we could discuss interim position with Frank and that.
That's right.
And that's what led me to exactly, and that is because I learned about him from both you and Ann and believed in what both of you say. So I asked you to talk to him or hims to see if they would be interested, because to be honest with you, we were talking interim before we ever went on this process.
And I did
So
exactly,
bring it on.
and I did
If you wanna
exactly
go
what you
after
asked me to
bring
do,
it on.
and I set up the meeting to further this process.
Yep, but,
So to single me out and saying that I
no,
having
that's not
backdoor
what's happening.
conversations is
No.
inaccurate.
That's not what's happening.
If I may, and it's not really my role, but if I may, you've got a motion
Yes,
to cancel the executive session.
yes.
You're not discussing the motion to cancel the
Right.
executive session. at this
No,
point
we're
in
just,
time.
it's just,
Right.
bring it on. I mean,
So the
here,
motion, do we have a second?
Yes, you had a second. I believe Kelly, you had.
yes,
Kelly,
I'll second whatever, so we can move to Pam's position.
So we have a motion to cancel the executive session, and Kelly Mullins has seconded that motion.
Yep.
Now we do a roll call. Mike Burnett,
I agree with the idea that this is too important to put off, as we've all said. So I don't see the sense in beating our chest saying it's too important, can't kick it down the road, and then we cancel the meeting. So no, I will not vote in favor of canceling the meeting.
Jeff Weiler,
Yay, I vote we cancel the meeting because I do not believe that we're in a position to talk about interims before we dismiss the last remaining candidate.
Daisy Davis,
No.
Troy Scott,
No.
Doug Weaver,
Okay, now, read this to me again for a second.
The motion is to cancel the executive session for this evening.
Aye.
Ann Vondervellen. No. Kelly Mullins.
Aye.
The motion does not carry.
You want to move on to the next agenda?
I would like to move on to old business, please. District Four, since you're at the podium, please.
My notes are outside the room, but I can tell you that the administration brought to the board for consideration a change to the compensation plan for miscellaneous employees with the addition of an assistant food service manager. That proposal was presented to the board at your prior board meeting. Pam Melcher also spoke to the board regarding the need for that particular position. And this evening, we're asking that the board approve the addition of that position to the miscellaneous compensation plan.
Do I have a motion? Motion. Second?
Second.
Any discussion from the audience? Seeing none, any discussion from the board? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mike Burnett,
Aye.
Jeff Weiler,
Aye.
Daisy Davis,
Aye.
Troy Scott,
Aye.
Doug Weaver,
Aye.
Ann Vondervellen. Aye. Kelly Mullins.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries.
On to new business. Pam, if you're still here.
I'm here.
Thank you.
I took the sign.
I think the board knows Nicole. She is our bid and commodity coordinator, so she's here to help answer any questions you might have tonight too. So the business office is recommending board approval to award the following RFPs from July 31st, 2023 through July 29th, 2024 to the following companies: Gordon's Food Service, Stan's Food Service, Commercial Foods, Piazza Produce, Wallace Packaging, Daxwell, Forms Plastic, Alpha Primo Bakers, and Dean's Food. The grand total of all RFPs is listed in your board packet.
Do we have a motion? Second?
Second.
Any discussion from the audience on the food service RFP? Any discussion from the board? Roll call, please.
Mike Burnett,
Aye.
Jeff Weiler,
Aye.
J.C. Davis,
Aye.
Troy Scott,
Aye.
Doug Weaver,
Aye.
Ann Vonderbellen, Kelly Mullins.
Aye.
Anybody else need a bottle of water? I have one extra here.
Laura, I want a bottle of water, because poor thing. I was gonna tell you, move over to the grandkids.
Mr. Giannisi, dedication right away for the City of Elkhart River Greenway paving project.
Based upon the memo that you have in hand regarding this project, the business office recommends approval of an agreement with the City of Elkhart to provide a property dedication to the city in the form of a right-of-way to allow the River Greenway Trail to make a substantial and visible pedestrian crossing connection at Blazer Boulevard.
I move. I motion.
Second.
I motion.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion from the audience?
Where is that intersection, Mr. G?
It's the intersection of Blazer and Goshen Avenue. So River Greenway is a trail that connects the area south of the tracks all the way up to the Riverwalk. And what they did is they put in the first section, but when they put in that little piece that Mr. Scott just pointed to, they realized it was so narrow that it just wasn't the best way to do it. So the city came back and asked if we would be willing to ask the board for a right-of-way dedication so that it could be widened to 10 feet to make a better crossing.
So Tony, that's the same corner as the tennis courts, correct?
Yes, that's
I
correct.
would be riding your bike.
Yep. Rice Cemetery would be across the street.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions from the audience? No other questions? Roll call, please.
Mike Burnett,
Aye.
Jeff Weiler,
Aye.
J.C. Davis,
Aye.
Troy Scott,
Aye.
Doug Weaver,
Aye.
Ann Vonderbellen, Kelly Mullins.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Great, thank you. After the meeting, I need to have the papers signed.
Yep, thank you. Next on the agenda, accession to policy 7510. Dr. Callheimer.
The administration recommends the board approve an exception to faculty usage under policy 7510 for the family of Travis Jackson to use the Elkhart High School freshman division auditorium and cafeteria for a memorial service and post-service meal on June 17th. The date had been set since the piece was put in the packet. So for next Saturday, for Saturday.
So moved.
Second.
Do we have any comments from the board?
Yeah. Student? It's a custodian. He is the head custodian from Elkhart Central. Oh, yeah.
We didn't know who it was.
Is the security taken care of? The cost of this?
There's custodial. Is Tony back there?
Tony? Well, custodial, but that's two different
Right,
things.
right.
I wanna make sure
All
that-
I can definitely answer is that there's custodial. I don't know. For the use of the facility for memorial services, there's security involved in that. I know we've talked custodial, but I didn't.
No, our security personnel have not been requested, but what we will have is an additional number of custodians to help keep the building blocked off. The freshman division has a lot of corridors that are easy to wander, so we will have custodians from high school who will be working so the custodians that worked with Travis directly can attend the services. but they'll be there to help with cleanup. We could have 1,000 people. I mean, they're anticipating a very large crowd based upon the family size.
You'll just shut down the doors and everything like that, music.
Yeah, they'll do it, they'll shut down the areas they can, but then the custodians will be there. We will still need to have it cleaned up for,
Right.
so that was the plan to have
So
it
it's
there.
easy to self-contain, to go straight to the front door and turn your back with the bathroom, so.
Well, that's true. We have basketball games at Northside Gym that have fewer than 800 people in the building. We have, 2, 3, 4. Jamie, what's security look like at Northside Gym during a basketball game? How many people? Security.
8 to 10 security plus law enforcement.
How many?
8 to 10 security plus law enforcement.
Okay, you're putting 1,000 people in a cafeteria. Okay. We need to think down the road and stuff like that, whether, might need to, we're gonna keep amending policies that we also need to fulfill that other requirement because things happen along the way for unexpected reasons. Okay, 1,000 people. Hey, God bless the guy and their funeral, their sadness, their grief, stuff like that. But we have to protect the school corporation.
Absolutely.
I would like that looked into and answered.
I also have a line of questions. First of all, my heart goes out to Travis's family. Personally, did not know Travis, but I was with the board when the announcement came out. Board members that we got taken back by his passing. So I know this is a very emotional thing. So my line of questioning next is not directed anywhere towards Travis. It's my job as a board member to ask these questions, get an understanding of our liability and the cost of steward of the money. This is a unbudgeted expense. And currently, our policy states that we do not allow our buildings and facilities for funerals. Is that correct?
That is correct.
From a liability standpoint, knowing that it was underwritten with that policy known to the underwriter, what steps have we taken to ensure the district from any liability for this usage?
Well, we'll always certainly have some liability. However, we are asking the family to provide a certificate of liability insurance with us as additional insured listed. And they have been working with Gibson, who is our provider, our broker, to secure that. And as of 3 o'clock this afternoon, it was just a matter of them making the payment, the family making the payment for that certificate.
Okay. What are the anticipated costs? I know we mentioned security. There wasn't any security that's going to be at this event, but there is some staffing of custodial staffing. What is the anticipated cost for this event to the district?
Based upon the hours, we believe they'll be there from what the families provided, and the number of staff we'll have there somewhere between $1,500 and $2,000 for the day.
So, my concern is it's an unbudgeted item. I understand the gesture. Don't get me wrong. I think we had a moment of silence for staff members in this meeting. I think we maybe had possibly around 5 or 6 staff members pass during the school year. So my concern is if we set precedent and change our policy, that could be anywhere from a $10,000 to a $20,000 expenditure for the district. So I just want to be sure that I understand the financial aspect of it.
Absolutely. In the time I've been here, we've had 5 that I can think of, including Travis. All have been, those are 5 that I know of that have come before the board. It requires board action to support this, to make this change in policy or waive this policy at this point.
And another concern is always, setting precedent. We do one, we have to do for all. So what I would like to see, that we have a discussion about this policy. I think this has brought forth some unintended issues that maybe we didn't think about previously, or maybe you have. I'd like to address the policy and see if we can tighten it up and get a better understanding of what our offering would be. I understand that this also has been, the family had asked, and, they were given some direction that this likely could happen. So I will vote yes for this tonight, but I'd like to kind of address my concerns and possibly some amendment of the policy in the future.
Yeah, I would agree with Troy's comments right there. We need to, spruce up that policy.
We're agree on that?
We agree on more than you think we agree on. No, we, Daisy.
And I believe that's what I suggested in my last email, is that we most certainly can. I share many concerns, having been the person that was one of the people involved in the hiring of Travis and working with him over the years. He's a great person, but so are the other people that we've lost, whether they're here or not. So we are it's an interesting dilemma.
We'll figure it out. Any further questions from the board or the audience? Roll call, please, Dora.
Mike Vermet.
Aye.
Jeff Feiler.
Aye.
Stacy Davis.
Aye.
Troy Scott.
Aye.
Doug Weaver.
Aye.
Ann Vandervellen.
Aye.
Kelly Mullins.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Board, do we have any slips? Please remember, we have 3 minutes, and if you've already spoke upon the issue you're going to come up, please, use this time to address the board on a separate issue. Mary Jo.
I don't think I'm being redundant here, but as I sit back and listen, my 37 years, I worked under 4 superintendents. I've just observed a process that's going to take us from 2018. Mark Now, Steve Tallheimer, Rob Hayworth, Mark Now, Steve Tallheimer, an interim, and then a superintendent in 5 years. We all know in this community the chaos and the uncertainty for all of the staff in this whole community is paramount to us moving forward, addressing the perceived chaos, and for recruiting staff who's going to come when you have a new leader every year. Just that's the end of what I have to say, but I'm just in a lot of distress watching this whole process today. It's put Frank aside. It's very distressing because Dr. Tallheimer is going to be gone in 2 weeks.
Thank you. Michelle Ivy.
Michelle Ivy, Transportation. Not here to say anything about anything other than we have needed such leadership across the board in Elkhart schools for more than the last 3 years in many departments. But I just look to y'all to realize that we're all depending on you to help us with that leadership. My number one job is every child that gets on that bus and every kid that gets off that bus. Number one, that's the kids. You know that. Second of all, to my boss, I do my job 110%. This is the first year I've not wanted to drive school bus because of lack of leadership. I love my community. Y'all know that. I'll feed you any day. You know that. But I'm kind of embarrassed, but I'm kind of hurt. I don't like seeing people that I care about in such a situation as we are now. I don't know Frank very well, but I kind of like the name because I have a son named Frank, so that kind of works. But I thank Frank for his many years of investing in our community and our school system, which I have also done the same. So was probably 97% of the people sitting behind me was an accumulated of over 500 years of service in this community. And I appreciate that, and I really respect that. I want to be part of moving forward as far as I can in transportation, but also in our community, because every single one of us has the ability to put words out there that are assertive, helpful, negative, a black eye, and that's more apparent now, more than ever, with some of the Facebook things I've seen. Just makes me sad. Not what I want for our community, for my board, my school system, which I'm proud of. We have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do, but we've got a good group of people that are committed every day to y'all, to this community and this system. So I just want to thank you for what you have done. I thank you for all the time you put in with the committee search. I believe that y'all know a lot more than I do any day of the day, any day of the year. But thank you. I do appreciate y'all, Dr. T. I do appreciate your leadership thus far, and I'm going to miss having you walk in a room and make my day. So I thank you for that, and good luck in your endeavors. And I wish my board good rest this evening and clear heads. Thank you.
Thank you. Angela Whitlow.
All right, so this might not be the best time, but Angela Whitlow. The beginning of May, you guys had spoke at a board meeting about changing school start times, early release for the high school. You were supposed to talk about that at the last board meeting. Watching it on the YouTube thing, I did not hear you guys talk about that. So I am just wondering where you're at in the process of that, if we're changing the early release for the high school, the late start for the high school. My opinion is having a high school kid. The only reason why we're doing a later day is because of transportation. These kids deserve to be at home. They just sit for an extra half an hour. These teenagers have sports, work, other family things to do. They need to leave early. So I hope you guys look into that a little more. I don't know if you're still going to talk about it or if it's going to be tabled forever. Second, well, I'm a little distraught by something a board member said tonight, is how can you do the job if you've never done it? You guys are a school board and work in a school. Education, that's how you do it. It was, not to be rude, but it was very ignorant statement, because you can't learn unless you try. You can't learn unless you have mentors. If that's the thought process, oh God, we're in trouble. And lastly, well, two more. I'm a little sad. I mean, I've been in this community for a long time, have helped out, and tonight was a little rough. I feel for all of you. I hope you can get your heads together. Sorry, I went off on the redhead. So I went off a little earlier because you guys are just frustrating. You're worse than my kids. So Lord have mercy. But Mr. T, I know a lot of times you haven't seen eye to eye, but I really, truly wish you the best of luck. And if you had to endure stuff like this during your tenure, I apologize. And I hope you exceed in whatever you do.
Thank you.
Thanks, Angela.
Penny Hewitt, did I get that right?
Yep.
All right.
I'm going to go way off topic here.
Actually, I like the topic. So.
Yeah. I'm from Bristol Elementary. I'm the librarian over there. And I have a vision to bring to Bristol a therapy dog. I have personally my own dog that I would like to certify. Her name's Maggie. You can pass that around. She is a Newfie Poo and a rescue from a breeder. So she's 4 years old, and she just has an excellent.
You wouldn't happen to have her here that you'd bring in from.
You know what? I wanted to bring her in. I really did.
Use a little therapy right now. That would be nice. I'll get down on the ground with her, and I need that.
I'd like to make a motion to that effect.
She would love it, and she just the way she attracts people to her, everyone just loves her, and I think the kids could definitely benefit from that. So just wanted to let you know that that's my goal, and anything you can do to help me achieve that, that would be awesome. I don't want to go through another organization and have them bring in their dog. I want my Maggie to come in. So I already have training set up. I have a certification testing set up for her, which includes insurance. And so I hope that this can be a dream come true for me. I have a card from Dr. Thorne. Was it Dr. Thorne? Doug Thorne?
Doug Thorne, yeah.
So I have his card.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wasn't sure if he was a doctor. But, so we're gonna work together. All right? Let me know. I'll bring her in.
Just real quick, where are you getting your training done? Because I have a dog. I have a daughter that's in a wheelchair. I'd love to get my dog
Where's my phone?
therapy certified.
Well, first, I'm going through a local organization to get the training. We have to go through a couple sessions of training through them. And then the certification is going to be done through Alliance of Therapy Dogs out of Warsaw. But they work together, so you have to do the training through this organization first. And that organization is, I haven't started yet. Hang on, I had it up and now it's gone.
Well, yeah, if you're having issues.
Yeah, I can get.
Yeah,
yours, that's fine.
I will have it at the end, but it's a local organization right here in Elkhart.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Kelly Brown.
No,
I can't believe you're retiring, you're so rude.
hey, you're in my speech. Back it up.
Just before she says anything bad about me, she was my son's favorite teacher. It's a lot of years. Remember that, in case she does. No.
I'm back. I'm back.
I know.
I came here tonight not to watch this that I've seen in the past when I was coming every time we had one. I came to celebrate Dr. Thalheimer. I had the privilege as Vice President of the Union to work with him a lot during the very beginning of his time here. And the hardest time I've experienced in many ways as a teacher when the pandemic hit, and how we worked together as teachers and, you know, the other side to do what was right for kids and for families. And it was a scary time and we didn't know what was going on, but we were led very, very well. And I've seen that from him time and time again. I personally am heartbroken that he's leaving us. And I was having a big speech about, and a speech ready to encourage this lovely school board that I do care about. The school has been my career for 37 years. And I stepped down, but I keep telling everyone as they try to get me to come back, I'm not going anywhere, I'm coming to sub. I was at Beardsley, we can't get subs there. I can do this. Nonetheless, I was hoping to have some food for thought for the school board. You guys have had lots of food for thought. I don't want to give more, but I want to say this. I worked at Eastwood back in the good days when Elkhart was what everybody wants it to be still, Elkhart. Huge money, family, everything. I got to hone my craft as a teacher. Discipline wasn't an issue. We are now an urban district. We and the school board have to understand that. Teachers understand it every day because it's a different world. We try our hardest to get those scores up. But having it preached and preached and preached is hard and diminishing. Dr. Thalheimer's way of saying things throughout the hardest moments in his weekly writings spoke to so many people. I want to say that you have a gift. You have a gift to touch people, children, adults, and we were blessed to have you. And we will miss you. Thank you for your time.
Laura Stoffer, I'm a teacher at Elkhart High School. Dr. Thalheimer, I want to say thank you. Thank you for your communication. Like Kelly mentioned, your weekly learning briefs were vital to increasing the lack of communication that we had prior to you. Thank you for your support of teachers and staff. Thank you for your support of our students. Thank you for doing what was right, even when it was tough. Thank you for taking the lemons you were given and turning them into lemon meringue pie. It might not have been the lemonade people expected, but it did the job. Thank you for always leading with poise in class. And as a side note, I never want to play poker against you because you have the best poker face. Thank you.
Nikki Harris.
I'm Nikki Harris. I teach sixth grade at Eastwood, and I also came to say thank you to Dr. Thalheimer for his service. He stepped in when our community was very divided and did his best to bring us together. And I just want to tell you that my sixth graders all want to be Lions, and a lot of that is from you. So I want to thank you. I also have a bone to pick because you told me at a Guiding Coalition meeting that if a certain policy wasn't around in 10 years, that I could come and throttle you, and now that opportunity is gone. so I'm, well, but mostly I'm just sad that you're leaving us. And I wish you the best in everything you do. And I'm also sad that this is the way we have to say goodbye through all of what happened tonight. And I hope that you know how much we appreciate you, that we stayed through this whole thing, just so we could come and tell you how much that we loved having you and loved working for you. Still have a problem.
Jessica Ramirez.
Good evening. My name is Jessica Ramirez. I am a special education teacher at Northside, and I just want to say thank you, Dr. Thalheimer. You have done some amazing service to our district, and I can't thank you enough. Your commitment to putting students and educators first when making critical decisions for us never went unnoticed. As someone who has worked with educators from every state and multiple other countries in various capacities, I know it isn't always easy to find a superintendent who truly understands public education and the needs of the community in which you work. Thank you for always putting Elkhart Community Schools' well-being at the forefront while leading us through some extremely difficult times. Your choices haven't always been praised, but as someone who has witnessed the behind-the-scenes nature of public education, I can say your thoughtful grace and dedicated efforts have not gone unnoticed by those working to enhance public education on a daily basis in our schools and our community here. Thank you, and I wish you the best of luck as you move on to your next adventure.
Josh Kendrick.
I think he had to go.
He had to go. Last but not least, Carrie Mullins.
Ooh, I'm hungry. Pardon me if I grumble up here. Good evening, everyone. I'm Carrie Mullet. For those of you who don't know, I have taught for Elkhart Schools for 25 years. I'm still a proud employee and also proud to be president of the Elkhart Teachers Association, at least for a few more weeks. I didn't used to have to wear glasses before I took that job on, but now my eyes have gotten old and my gray hair. But anyway, at the beginning of the 18-19 school year, Mark Mao agreed to serve as interim while the school board searched for the next leader for the district. So it's kind of ironic that we're here today. At that time, the Elkhart Teachers Association was asked by the board to meet with teachers and gather their input on that process. And so hundreds of your teachers at that time participated and sent forth a general consensus that I shared with the board in executive session back then. They wanted a superintendent who would embrace diversity completely, both in students and staff, someone who would celebrate differences, a person who would consult teachers when making decisions that impacted instruction and include teachers in designing or revising programs. They wanted a leader who would deliver a consistent message and ensure that the rest of the administrative staff understood that message and adhered to it. They said they needed someone who wouldn't make too many changes all at once, and a superintendent who would provide resources to every building, not just the high school. That was a theme that came up quite a bit several years ago during the merger. Our teachers said the best candidate would have knowledge of the PLC process and prior experience working at all levels within a public school corporation. They wanted someone who would put students and staff first, not community politics. They asked for a leader who would be loyal and appreciative of every staff member's contribution, an individual who would truly listen to opposing views and would understand the value of doing so. Dr. Tallheimer, I'm happy, and I know lots of staff members who have also been very happy that you've been that person. You've done all those things, and you've done them well. I personally can't thank you enough for all the time and effort you've expended for the betterment of students and staff. Not to mention the positive impact you've had on the city as a whole. Not everyone has had the privilege to witness firsthand how hard you've worked and the hours you spent keeping this boat afloat, but I have. I was in awe of your diligence as you pounded the pavement night after night, 2 times over nonetheless, speaking to citizens about the importance of the referendum. I've observed your willingness to meet with any person at any time for any reason. I've appreciated your knowledge of curriculum and instruction, your insight into school finance, and your willingness to collaborate with ETA on legislative matters that impacts public schools. Throughout the pandemic, as Jessica mentioned, Elkhart Schools was also incredibly blessed to have you guiding us. Your frequent reminder to just take a deep breath, no pun intended on that, certainly helped me to keep calm and carry on through some very challenging times. I'm sure many in this audience would agree that that helped them as well. So on behalf of Elkhart Teachers Association, we wish you nothing but the best in your future endeavors. We're very sad to see you go, and we thank you for everything you've done to make Elkhart better. You will be missed, and I will ask the crowd, I'll give him a round of applause, a special bow, a thank you. We appreciate you. Can't wait to see what you do.
All right, that's all I have from the audience. Dr. Tallheimer.
As I've talked to different people over the last few weeks and am leaving to be on vacation and stuff for the rest of the month, and this is my final board meeting, one of the things that I've said to people over and over again is I have been humbled by the trust that people put in me to come into the district and to try to implement change at a time when people, the district was in need of a lot of individual and institutional health. Conversations around the merger had fractured people, people felt like they hadn't been listened to. Elementary schools felt like they'd been denied and ignored. There were just a lot of things that people felt when I came into the district. And so a big piece was to just listen. When I listened and put the pieces together, that's where we came to the plan where we've had, and I know there have been people that have felt that we've asked a lot, but our kids deserve a lot. And so for coming along on that and making the changes and doing those things and doing all of that work in the midst of an unprecedented time in public health is something that I will always cherish and value about all of you as a school community. And for the families and the students who have trusted that leadership, and I hear from someone in the business office that her daughter thought it was cool when I would do a video announcing something that was going on, and I'm like, wow. Knowing that the efforts at communication and building consistency and having a message that was focused around a handful of things that we could work on and do really well was important to me. I thank the Board of Trustees for giving me this opportunity and for supporting the things that we've been doing. And I just say to all of you that the things that we work on and the kids that we serve are bigger than any one person. And so it really is upon all of you to carry that work forward. And so the things that we've been doing about professional vulnerability and collaboration within professional learning communities, focusing on our English learners through a strong EL program that we've developed over the last few years and have been working on that was not in place prior to my arrival. I mean, all of those things, rebooting our high ability program and continuing to develop those schools of study so that they can be the hallmark institution for high school in the area, all of those things are critical, and that work is bigger than me. And I hope people feel that they can now work together, they can collaborate, and they can continue to make those things happen because there are excellent people here doing excellent work. So thank you, Elkhart Community Schools, for one of the highest honors of my professional life.
Lastly, board.
Yeah, I have a couple comments. Number one, I'm delighted to report it seems the chiller is finally working. Thank you, Tony, wherever you're at.
It actually kicked off, the meeting went so long.
Yeah. Last evening at the Matterhorn, the Carolyn Wolf Awards, and we had several female athletes, one from each school building, and then also athletes from prior years and stuff like that. And I can't remember the guest speaker's name and stuff like that. She was Randy Osterly. But anyhow, we got a master's level discussion in pelvic floor dysfunction. All right, unheard of, and it was interesting. But believe it or not, it was great. So tomorrow night is the Bringle Awards, so I'm expecting some great medical situation to be at the podium so we can learn more about our bodies and stuff like that. Other than that, thank you for staying so late tonight. And
Don't forget to congratulate Adley for her winning the Captain Award.
well, I would, but I didn't actually remember her name. Can you do that for me?
Adley.
Adley time.
Yep.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. I wasn't trying to overlook her, but I was kind of sweeping it into the whole thing there.
I got you.
So, but thank you for filling in the blanks. Well, after pelvic floor dysfunction, I mean, I don't know how I could top that.
I would just like to say, Dr. Tallheimer, thank you for your years of service. I know it hasn't been easy. There's been a lot of ups and downs. But I know that your heart is with kids and doing what's best for kids. And I appreciate that. I know it hasn't been easy. I think for even teachers and everybody who's in education, it's not easy. I think we all recognize that. I appreciate your service greatly and what you've been able to accomplish here, and putting some things in place to help us heal. And I wish you nothing but the best as you go forward.
I'm gonna do something a little. Andrea, thank you for sharing them with Elkhart schools and going through a lot of the different emotional things that you've had to go through as he's been superintendent. So like recognizing the family view and, Luke who's traveling and knowing your life is different, but I thank you too. I mean, I've been one of your, challenges fans and conversation friends and disagreements and, you've given me great advice and been so kind to my grandchildren, and I'm sorry, but I'm excited. I know that I hope that some of the things we talked about last night pan out in a very big way, and I'll continue to pray for you, pray for your father-in-law and Luke's success, and thank you.
We got an opportunity to speak, but just want to go on record and thank you. You've been a good leader. There's things that we've done that question available to talk things through and that relationship. And I think that's a sign of a good leader. You left a mark here. Don't ever question whether you have left a mark here. You have. You have made a difference in many lives. The timing was tough. Who could predict the pandemic? Who could predict what you went through the 2 referendums you did? I think a lesser person wouldn't be sitting here today. So I wish you the best. I think that you'll do great things. There's not a doubt in my mind. You're going to be continually transformative. And, your true north is what's important. It's never been a question that you do what you do for the kids in the district to which you work. For that, I thank you.
Dr. Tallheimer, we have met almost every Tuesday for the last 2 years, so I'm going to miss you every Tuesday. We've had a lot of tough conversations, and I stopped by your office a couple weeks ago and just thanked you for the way you've handled yourself the last couple months, because I know it's been tough to sit through some of these conversations. And so I just appreciate the work that you've done. It was a pleasure getting to know you, and I wish you nothing but the best on your next endeavor.
Thank you, Daisy.
So, if nothing,
Steve, I don't know you well, only, being on this board for a few months, but I definitely thank you for your service to our community and wish you nothing but the best.
And I will see you in church.
all right. You good?
Very good.